Everyone, are we unmuted? We're about to unmute the.
We are unmuted.
YouTube. We are now unmuted, so. That in mind.
Let's start with music.
We begin with roll call.
Are we unmuted, Bobia?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Naya,
Here.
Musab,
Here.
Aiden,
Here.
Mo,
Here.
I'm Taya, Miriam,
Here.
De Silva. He's here. Okay, Tinmay. Okay, Tanvi, here. Audrey, here. Alicia, here. Eddie. Ishika. Kushi, here. Shaughnessy,
Here.
Ben,
Here.
Ale, here. Jack Moriarty. Fabia, here. Ryan.
Here.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yadu,
Here.
Cameron. You on Zoom? Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drew Lou.
Here.
Ion. Not here. Okay. Stanley. Amira. Here. Samyang.
Here.
Charmaine. Here. Solon. Jane.
Here.
Sophie. Here. Ryan. Yes. Here. And Abit. Ishal. Here. Tanisha. Here. Rafa. Megan. Michelle. Gustav.
Here.
Jess. Jakar. Austin.
Here.
Minna. Here. Kennedy. Here. Andrew Lou.
Here.
Jeffrey.
Here.
Maxwell. Anjali. Leo. Okay.
Here.
Alexa, is she also Zoom?
I am
Hi,
here.
Alexa.
Hello.
Cindy. Juan.
Here.
Okay, Gracie. Anna. Madiha. Yes. AJ. Nina. Here. David.
Here.
Catherine. Here. Zainab. Here. Rolake. Here. Emily. Here. Melinda. Sahasra. Kaylin. Hanaya. Here. Alex. Simon. Jocelyn Vargas. Sophia. Here. Pablo Cherkis. Sydney. Ruhan. Sebastian. Savon. No. Khalil.
Here.
Sama. Ritvik.
Here.
Yasin. Aryan. Jocelyn. Yes. Madeline. Jack. Terrell. Nicole. Aditya. And Pablo. And any members of the public. Hi, Mukhtar. Thank you guys so much.
Have another number.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is your name?
My name is Catherine.
Catherine. Okay.
Thank you.
With a K or a C?
With a C.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, that should be everything.
Okay, we will now enter 10 minutes of open forum. This again is time for members of the public, anyone to share, but with priority given to members of the public. It can always be extended, but we'll begin with 10 minutes.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? I'm just curious about like how the proposition of the White House will be dealt with. And what is the UA opinion about it, because I'm sure at some point we're gonna have to put our inputs, and it's important to know like what we're gonna say and what the inputs we do.
I want to hold a conversation about it in my section.
Any other points for forum? Move to close. There's
Second.
all in favor.
Wait, excuse me,
Oh, I'm sorry, Leo.
oh no, I was just wondering if we could please have a quick summary of the previous asked question and who spoke.
Leo, so we're gonna talk about the compact under Naya's section. That was the question.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
And that was, are there any opposed to collapsing open forum? Yeah, this motion clearly passes. We'll now enter closed session.
Hey, hi guys. Energy seems so dead in this room. Let's get lively. Such great important things to talk about today. So first up, my report section. So Musab and I met with Karu. This is like our bi-weekly meeting. So we talked about like updates on UA membership and UA initiatives. And then we had both had a meeting with Katie again, just like one of our recurring one-on-ones. Ew, I'm so sorry. I'm sick. Sorry. So then UA Cabinet also met with Wellness on the 30th. The topics that we talked about were the flu shot clinic marketing, vaccine guidelines, counseling services engagement, PSIP coverage, Title IX and violence prevention resources, wellness vending machine usage and marketing, changes to wellness services in the current external and political environment. Does anyone want me to elaborate on any of the topics posed above? Okay. The cabinet also met with FRES, Facilities, Real Estate Services. They talked about presentation. They did a presentation with campus development investments, interdepartmental coordination, campus maintenance and safety, recycling, sustainability, and then occupancy across campus. Any elaboration? All right.
Yeah, could you
Yes.
elaborate on like what campus developments and investments like they talked about?
Yeah. Does Musab or someone else from Executive Cab wanna? I had a midterm this day, so you know,
question.
It's like which campus developments and investments do they talk about?
like it was on the presentation. What things
Yeah.
we talked about in the
So they
presentation?
talked about the past projects they worked on and current ones and future ones. I think some of the current ones are the it's called SPAC, the Student Performing Arts Center that's outside of Hill. They also talked about their plans for 1920 Commons.
1920 Commons, Digital
DRL.
Fine Arts, DRL. They also licensed the rock, like where the
Urban
urban
Art
used to be, like the rock climber gym will be there by spring 2026.
Yeah, Sherpool, Art Center for the indoor track center, Penn Museum, Stuart Weitzman, all things that we're pretty much already up to date on, but just talking about where they currently stand. The elevator modernizations and the high rises, etc.
And also like minutes of the whole entire slideshow, so that should be.
Any other questions on either wellness or Fres? Okay, and then cabinet also met with career services. We talked about undergraduate support for those non-traditional pathways, freshman career fair prep, Iris Food with funding and usage, the wardrobe partnership, career services partnership in general. Audrey.
Talk about the non-traditional career path.
Yeah, they basically said like they already do offer support for them. I think and for most of the things we brought up to them, their response is that we already do it. Our response is that they need to communicate it better. So we're trying to like help them think of ways to like better boost collaboration and engagement for those things. Their website is like really, really thorough, but I think it also causes user fatigue because there's so many different things on their website. So I think comps will probably do a follow-up meeting with them and just talk about how they can better communicate those things. We did just like put more emphasis on like again like those humanities, like law, stuff like that. And they said what they also said was that like those like nonprofits and stuff like that, for example, they don't typically want to come to our career fairs because it costs more. They don't think we have that much funding to travel, etc. So it's also harder just to get them here.
And they went to like 2 in.
Right, and they also take a smaller cohort of interns. Yeah. But also, do you have anything?
It was the same.
Okay. Any other questions about any of those topics above?
Photo booth funding?
You want to talk about it?
No, that's not.
Okay. Yeah, so basically they said that they're the same boat that we are in, like they don't have money either. They told us to like circle back when it's closer to like end of their fiscal year. So I guess we'll talk with them about that as it gets closer to that. But for those who don't know, there is a photo booth in career services that is funded by both GAFSA and the UA. It costs $3,000 out of our already very small budget. You've probably seen it. It's like you get like free headshots. We pay for all of that because at the time when it was established, I think I don't remember how many years ago. It wasn't too long ago though. The career services didn't have the money to fund it, but now we're back in the same, but we're also kind of not really having the means to fund it. So we're trying to think of other ways that we can help fund that for you. Jimmy.
So we have to pay $3,000 every year. Like, do we own it or are we rent it?
It is so it's the total is $6,000. It's just like an annual service fee. I don't really know what it includes. I think it's like maintenance. I'm not sure. Again, this happens before. I think everyone in this room was even in here. Which is why we're also trying to get more information on it and see how we can change the funding process for that because we think that career services should absorb it. But I guess then if it is, I think it was passed with a contingency request or maybe reserve fund proposal a while ago. I think under Carson Shoemaker when he was president. Stanley.
And to maintain it just sounds absurd.
What'd you say?
It sounds like something that should just be like self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I don't understand like what they're spending $3,000 a year on.
And it's 6,000.
Yeah, it's 6,000.
Because-
But it's also, but it's not like I want to clarify. Like this is not career services saying that it costs X amount of money. This is like what was included in the contract with Iris Photo Booth. And this photo booth is also like at various schools across the nation. So I'm sure it's the same thing across the schools. But yeah, it's not like career services saying that we have to pay them $6,000. Like I think it was included in the Iris Photo Booth contract.
If you're talking with them, could you like find out what that 6,000 goes to maybe?
I think some of it is the software, stuff with the camera. I know we
Okay.
had a long conversation about it last year. I also find it absurd and it also makes up over a third of our budget. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
The
we can do.
software makes sense. I think.
Yeah,
Stanley, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say Leo had something to say. Please, sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm sorry.
Leo has something.
Oh, Leo, sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say thank you very much, Stanley. Maybe I could provide a little context. This was in the 50th session. This was Carson Shoemaker and Xavier. They were working together on this. Yeah, it's the 6K is just I think it's mainly software maintenance, but it's also like insurance as well. So they'll replace like physical damage to the machine in any way. And I think quite a lot of that is like, you know, the software and the editing, the fact that you just pull up and just take as many photos as you want. Definitely something to look into though. Carol, I remember we were there and like we were chatting with the guy that had the exact contract like out in his office. Like well, maybe we could send someone to like find that guy and shake him down.
We
But,
should.
Yeah. This was 50th.
Okay, 50th session. Thank you. Okay, any other questions about topics for career services, Fres, or wellness? Again, all the minutes can be found in the general body drive. Okay. Next things, I have my one-on-one with Kathleen Shields Anderson. She's the vice president of the Division of Public Safety. We were just talking about like the UA goals and visions, as well as ICE protocol. Does anyone want me to elaborate on anything that we talked about there?
Very elaborate more with ICE protocol.
Yeah, so basically, DPS in general is very adamant on saying that their role is not to enforce like federal like ICE legislation. Like that's not their job. Their job is to protect the safety of the campus. They're talking about the difference between like a judicial and administrative warrant. And basically that if there ever is an ICE spotting on campus, you guys should call DPS and let them know. Her words exactly was, if you're on my campus, I need to know that you're on my campus and why you're on my campus. So I think it's just really important to know that, like, I think in general, DPS should be within good graces of ourselves. Their intention is not to hurt anyone on the campus. And they can't do anything really preventative if someone were to be taken by ICE, but they can make sure that all the documents are had. They can find their emergency contacts. They can put them in contact with the right people, etc.
And I'll just add, it was super important to call, I know it sounds ridiculous that you call the police when there's police there, but there was a Temple student, there's a few of them that impersonated ICE last year. So there also have been an uptick in people impersonating law enforcement. So if there's any federal law enforcement or anyone that you see that might be suspicious, please call Penn Police and they'll verify and be there to assist you.
Sorry,
go ahead.
hold on. Is this being communicated to the general Penn community, and how is it being?
So look, they always say like they are happy to have like group meetings with anyone, like they're willing to meet with anyone. I think there's obviously a natural hesitation for sending out like campus-wide communication about this for obvious reasons. But like they are like in like frequent contact with like the Latinx Coalition, APSC, ISSS, like everyone has this information. It's just a matter of how it's being dispersed. I think something that I'm going to do moving forward is like in my next school-wide email, I'm going to put a blurb of like what you should do. And in this case as well, because I do have like the authority to do so. Yeah. Any other questions?
Just about that, I sent last year sent email about that. It's always in their emails if you ever see ICE or you are in danger, call DPS, and it's on their Instagram, blog, WhatsApp.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. And then exec also met with 7B along with Andrew and Michelle Chen. They are the 7B liaisons. We just talked about like their goals and priorities and how the UA can support them. I think this is going to be a more recurring, established relationship. 7B is, you guys are all familiar with 7B, right? I think you talked about it last time. Okay. If anyone has any questions, let me know. And then lastly, cabinet met with the faculty senate tri-chairs on Friday, talked about technology in the classroom, funding and resource constraints and their impact, resource challenges, faculty senate across the nation, free speech, academic freedom, and university council. If they want me to elaborate on any of the topics above here.
Yeah, I want to talk about university council. Who were me?
Yeah, so basically we're honestly talking about your proposal, and she was just talking about how like it's going to be short, right? The 40, it's like 40 pages down to like 4, I think, roughly. And talking about how we're going to explore that conversation in general. Wasn't really too much substance to that conversation. And
About the tech.
the tech. Again, not much substance to that conversation. She was kind of just talking, by she I mean Kathleen Brown. She is the current chair. She was talking about how like from her experience, it's like it varies across the classroom. There've been like different concerns. She said that she gave an example, an anecdote where like she thought her and another professor taught this like history class, and now AI has like obliterated it, so like it can't be taught in the same way anymore. Yeah, so like it's like just various concerns. Any other questions? David?
Faculty senate across.
Yes. They said this is not the thing that keeps them up late at night. So they're not worried about ours being under attack in any way anytime soon. Any other questions? Okay. And then upcoming again, my one-on-one with Katie Bonner. Cabinet is meeting with the Office of the Chaplain, Sparks. It's like Spiritual and Religious Life Center. I need agenda topics. Does anyone have any agenda topics for Spark? Mukhtar?
Last spring, so like that semester, they included some questions in like the annual survey that Kuru sent out to like get a sense of people's opinions on campus. I'd like to know how they are responding to that feedback, as it was, or in what way they're responding to the feedback from the questions that were in there.
Thank you. And you said Kuru?
Yeah, like
Adam sent it
Peru
out?
sent out like a ton of emails about it. I think it was the Pulse survey,
Okay, okay. Any other questions for Audrey?
Are they continue doing the breaking bread things? Like when people.
Question? Anyone else?
Wait, did Spark finish the fake fund? Yeah, and I guess he just asked what their thoughts on the new funding model are.
Wait, I'm so sorry, what?
About faith
Fake
fund,
fund,
Thank you.
okay. On the new funding model for like from SAC?
yeah, from SAC,
Okay.
how it interacts with like how they pay the fake fund.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, if anyone has any other topics, then please let me know. So we have a little bit more to talk to them about. Cabinet is meeting, I mentioned last GBM, our meeting with Provost got rescheduled, so now we're meeting with him on the 13th. Which is when we were supposed to meet with President Jameson. That meeting is now being pushed to November 10th, I believe. And then Cabinet is also meeting with ISSS, International Student Scholar Services. Agenda topics for ISSS. Khalil.
How are they dealing with the government shutdown and the visa situation of them, this that they'll get visa for?
Okay. No.
They've explored funding options for people who need assistance for visa costs.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Financial assistance for visa costs.
Julia.
Like where are the funds coming from and like financial assistance for lawyers?
Oh, also they're like relationships with lawyers and like.
We can go through them.
If they have any.
Yeah.
Andrew, did you have something?
Wait, up, yeah.
Thank you.
The H
I
one B,
appreciate it.
like,
Yeah, H1B.
the H1B, like, with the word we do, but. Like the 100K fine on H1Bs.
Okay.
The fees.
Is it visa? Is that what you said? Fees? Yes, fees. Okay. Any other questions for ISSS? Rafa?
Yes. I probably brought up a lot of these topics and they're always like, oh, we can't share a lot, we can't say anything, the university is deciding. Could you kind of like just ask them like, what's their approaches with like student communication? Because there's like a balance and like, we're deciding we can't share and we need to like tell students to be. Like, I don't know how to structure that question. but-
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We asked someone one last year. I think
I always bring.
valid to ask it again. Thank you. Any other questions? Andrew?
ISSS has like interest in webinars or like more educational events for Canadians and Mexicans specific.
He ends.
It's like a specific visa, like for Canadians or Mexicans.
And also, Chile? Like some random country.
Really? I thought it was just it's like. I'm not.
Shows Mexico government because of the. But it's not everything international community. So I'm saying more than I don't think a lot of people know what it is.
Okay. Anything else for ISSS? Okay. And then I have the Council of Undergraduate Deans, CUDs. Sorry. I have CUD as well this week, which is literally exactly what it sounds like. It's when like all the undergraduate deans come together and we just talk about, I don't even know, we talk about various pressing matters. No.
We're gonna talk about the calendar.
Probably not, but if we do, yes. I don't know if they put out the academic calendar yet for community comment. If they do, I'll let you guys know. It's for the year 2027 to 2028. And I had a lot to say about it, so I'm sure everyone else will as well. But there's also not much we can do about it because of like the national guidelines for how many days we have to be in school. Julia.
Can you ask them about like having the UA represented? College, leave-in, curriculum leave-in, your time.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you guys want me to bring up for CUD? Andrew?
Like, response to funding cuts, hiring freezes, etc., and their long-term planning.
Okay, I didn't say that the agenda is set for these, and not by me, it's by like the vice provost, undergraduate education. So if I can bring this up, I will, and if I cannot, then I'll ask these questions to Gary Papour when I meet with him as well. Well, it would be this week, but I'll just ask him about it in general. And then lastly, it's actually not here, but it's on the top. I wanted to have a conversation about this compact that the Trump administration sent out to the 9 schools, and Penn being one of them. It's called the Compact for Academic and Excellence in Higher Education. Has everyone had a chance to read it, think over it, or look at like various news articles on what they're asking for? Is everyone okay? I think it's important for the UA in general to have 1, knowledge, and 2, feedback on this, to think about how we're going to move forward when we respond. So does anyone just want to share their thoughts in general on this compact? And then Jameson also sent out an email earlier today saying what their plan or not plan was to do in response to this message. Khalil?
Just like the wording of the compact is very vague, very weird. Like the demands are so clear, but the return is so weird. It's gonna have privilege of getting funds, but no more like no details about what those privileges are or what's the return of universities from this deal is. And as a lot of professors from Penn or other than Penn, it's like very unconstitutional to put like restrictions on like universities, whether like their recruitment fees or like on their like national student body or anything, especially that Penn has like 17% of national students, so we are already like 2% more. What will happen to those 2%? Is it like future thing? Is it like now will they without 2%? What like how perspective will happen? Plus like they like support and enhance like provide that kind of supportive environment for like conservatives on campus, which is also vague because like how, why, what, how do you say that? So it's a lot of vague wording in a very thing that's gonna kind of put a lot of limits to Penn. And how will that look like, historically speaking? Like 10 years from now, how will that look like?
Thank you. Musa?
Yeah, I think like Pierce said this earlier, but what the Dartmouth president sent out, she said like, we've often heard me say that higher education is not perfect, now we can do better. At the same time, we will never compromise our academic freedom and our ability to govern ourselves. So that kind of makes like Jameson's email sound very weak. And I think, especially regarding these things, from the student perspective, it feels as though we're compromising the values that makes Penn Penn. And so to consistently capitulate and to give up like academic principles for a nebulous outcome seems very antithetical to like the university. So I'd be very curious to know like why there is justification from a principal point to do this.
Kavant?
I agree. I think it's insane that the president is even considering listening to what Penn has to say and considering signing this letter or not. That feels so like we're giving up our own morals and we're just doing this for financial gain, which is kind of it's another way to put our students in the way just for more money, which is sick. So I'm just curious on what can the UA, like can we send a message to the president or to whoever to let them know that this is insane, that we're willing to compromise the safety of the students and our academic freedom in our own willingness to govern under this crazy government.
So 2 things. One, I'm going to just, for anyone who's not familiar, just like briefly summarize what the asks were in the compact, and then 2, as a response to you, like, as to what the UA can do. We do have like the power to like release a statement or a resolution or something of the sort. There's a process that we have to go through per our bylaws. It's a rather long one, so we're also exploring ways on how we can make that process a bit more efficient. Obviously, fall break is smack in the middle of this. Also, do just want to put on you guys' radar that I did reach out to Leah Popovich, who is Jameson's executive assistant, asking for a meeting with the president and like prior to their October 20th response time on this compact. But then just again, I highlighting what some of these demands were. It was to so like DEI considerations, like banning the use of race, gender, etc. in admissions, hiring, scholarships, or campus programs. reinstating like SAT being required for admissions, which we actually already do. I think there was like adopting institutional neutrality, defining or like adopting defining sex biologically for bathrooms, housing, and sports, capping international students, I think at 15%, which is what Khalil was talking about, putting a freeze on tuition, imposing more strict disciplines, and then just adding more federal oversight in exchange for, I think it was like more preference for federal funding for grants. Come on.
So wait, I know this is like probably highly unlikely, but has the president ever visited our UA meeting like in the past or? Like,
Trump or Jameson? Jameson. No. And
Past
that's
bedtime.
it's something that will likely never happen.
Yeah.
But like I said, I am going to try to get Musa and I are going to try to get a meeting with him prior to this.
Thank
you. Julia.
I do want to say that I understand like the concern with what Hans is saying about the funding cuts to things like medical research, which Penn is a foremost person on it. But I think once we capitulate now, as Musa was saying, they're going to continue to ask us to capitulate, and it will tear the school down, I think, brick by brick, and we won't be able to save anyone with the additional funding we get in the near term.
Charmaine.
What would even be the benefits of taking this money? Like, where would it go? Do you know?
The money for like from like
The
federal government.
Like, if we were to get extra funding, where would that go?
I mean, there's been no like concrete promises from in the compact. It literally says we get preference for those, and then I think it's also like we get to go to special or like university gets like special invite to like White House events or something like that. So again, I don't know. It was very vague. I'm not sure if there's something more concrete that was sent to like the individual schools or to the presidents. Again, it's more information I want to know as well, but I'm not sure. But it was just more preference for federal funding, and I don't think it really mentioned taking anything that we already have away. It was a matter of in the future. Cleo?
Just quick, like he said this, like I will continue to seek input from our faith community. He kind of did not mention students, he said English leader, that get include a lot of things, but he mentioned all other other students, which is not okay.
Yeah, no, I agree, which is exactly what I said when I emailed saying that I think it's really important for students to be involved in this conversation, at the very least the UA being elected representatives. So I'm hoping that they're open to doing that, and I think if they're not opening to soliciting feedback from students, I think it speaks to a bigger point. David?
One of the things that the compact says is that universities must abolish departments which quote unquote purposefully punish, belittle, and even spark violence against conservative ideas.
Yes.
Yeah, very broad in scope. And obviously it goes against our university's ideas, so just wanted to comment that.
Anyone else? ZK?
Are we considering the negatives of not saying yes? So, because I don't think there's much detail on what happens if you say no. Not having preference for federal funding is very ambiguous, and it would be great if you could find out what saying no could entail, because it could sound like our funding being preferentially transferred to the UT schools, for example. And I think that's something we have to consider before we say yes or no.
Sophie?
I know like the 9 schools have until the 20th to like create a comment or feedback. Do you know if the president of Penn is meeting with admin at the other schools, if they're like collectively coming up with feedback? And also, does anyone know like how much of a sway the feedback the universities put out will actually have regarding like the final drafted compact?
I'm not sure specifically, but again, if you get to have a meeting with Jameson, that's a question I'd like to ask. Anyone else have anything to say about this? Carol?
Just sort of a point, but if we do pass a resolution, which I think we should personally, that gets delivered to the president and to the board of trustees. That's the formal process. It obviously gets released publicly as well. But that's like in our bylaws that that resolution is delivered to those entities.
Ben?
On that topic, would we really have like the time to pass the resolution? This timeline, and that involve like require us to skip past a lot of the normal vectors.
We would need to suspend the rules on the 19th and then vote it in one go, which is kind of impossible.
Because I wouldn't be against like passing it. I think this is like really important to touch on. I just don't know like if, yeah, but it sounds like. There are ways that we can.
Yeah, I think we're exploring other ways in the bylaws to figure out how we could respond to this. Again, for all the new members in the room, if you were to at any time speak on behalf of the UA or release a statement or a resolution, it has to be presented to the body first in one meeting and then the next meeting can be voted on. That's our process as it stands in our bylaws, which is a very lengthy process. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can respond a bit more quickly. Come on, okay. Anyone else have anything to say?
I guess just, I'm sorry, real quick, just another point, it is also in our bylaws, if you ever receive any media inquiries, and you're speaking on behalf of the UA, we have to approve that as a body, so, that does happen from time to time. There were, like, 2 years ago, there were news sources that were specifically targeting freshmen, because they assumed that they would be more willing to talk, that they're more vulnerable, so if you do ever receive a media inquiry, you're to send it to Taya, and then if you're speaking on behalf of the body, that has to be voted on and approved here. You are welcome to speak in your own capacity, but you can't make statements on behalf of the UA without having approval.
Okay, was there a hand over here?
Yeah, I
I'm
was just
sorry.
gonna say that I've read the full text and it didn't fade enough to sort of sound like it's a future policy statement of the Department of Education. And I think that's something to consider, that, you know, even if we do say yes or no, this could become like just a mandate, like a blanket mandate. We have to do it if we want federal funding, period. And I also think that it is important to recognize that if we do say yes now, under the assumption that this is just for preferential access to federal money, that it could mean that we can't opt out. That once we say yes, we're locked in. And that the consequences of that are something that will be long lasting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Sorry to end my, Pierce.
Have you considered just not responding? Like not saying yes once, you know?
Just,
Um,
someone asked that to the White House and they said, not responding is no.
So we can't leave them on red.
these are all questions. Anyone else have any more specific questions that if we do get a meeting with Jameson that you would like me to ask? Charmaine?
This is kind of niche, but like, how would this work for the bathrooms? Cause I know all the like hill bathrooms. So what would that mean, like, messing the door?
Anyone else? Anna?
I feel like in all of the university-wide communication, they can be being very neutral, so if there is able to be a resolution that they respond to it, or if there's a meeting, that you should specifically ask about what are you considering will happen if we do play notes such as the funding, you mentioned the bathrooms, like specifically what are they expecting to happen because the actual messaging of the compact is kind of.
Okay. Isha?
I don't know if there's.
Also, can you guys speak up just a little bit louder for Zoom?
Okay, I don't know if there's a clear-cut answer to this yet, but I was wondering specifically on the point of like the hypothetical cut to like programs and like lessons that are like an attack on conservative ideology. What programs do we think that entails right now? Like what specifically would be targeted in that case?
Okay. Come on.
One question could be, are there other ways that the university could protect conservative voices without agreeing, without signing this agreement? Like, couldn't the president just do this himself without forfeiting our sovereignty to the federal government? Are there other ways to get the same outcome without signing this document to the White House?
ZK.
Can we also have a question about how this impacts future students? So the class of 2030 and 31, some of whom have already been admitted to the school. If the international student count, for example, is more than 15%, how will this affect? Will there be readmissions, or what's going to happen to these students?
Okay. Mukhtar?
Is there any room for negotiation? Like, I think a lot of our questions are just it's vague and we don't know how it's going to affect Penn in any material way. And also the language talks about enforcement, and it really is difficult to make a decision based on enforcement of the standards and policies. So I'd like to know if Penn is, obviously Penn is looking to negotiate on this, but if there's any chance of that happening to get more clarity on what the government is specifically looking for, or if it's just a yes or no binary.
Okay. Alex, do you have something? No? Anyone else? Okay, if you think of any questions within the next couple of days, I'll let you guys know if I get a response from Leah Popovich. Sorry to end my report on such a dim, dull note, but yeah, that's it for me.
And I know there are a lot of midterms and stuff going on, and some of you have asked for the exception for this meeting to have your laptop out, so if you have, I'm respecting that, but if you could please, if you haven't asked for that, if you could please put the computers away for now. We'll try to do things as quick as possible.
Okay, hey everyone. I have a bit of a more fun report. Met with Kuru, Katie, and I also attended PhD Syrian, had the one-on-one with Baby Dad. And then yesterday, Aiden and I went to actually on Thursday we had a UA Drexel like exec meetup on Zoom, which is really nice. A lot of chemistry there. I think there's a lot of future to know about. And then we went to PSG. Oh, this is, by the way, Drexel and Aiden and I. This is their president and this is their vice president. They're both very nice. I also want to say, like, I didn't see that there was a dress code. And so I woke up and I put on like my normal clothes and I'm in the Uber and I see Aiden, who's late, by the way. He's running in a full suit. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm screwed. And so they're all wearing formal clothes and I'm here in my business casual. Maybe so I can zoom in a little bit. But yeah, very nice meeting. We met with all the other like Philadelphia schools who have student governments. I think often we tend to think that because we have the Ivy name tag, that we naturally do things better at Penn. But after learning about all these other undergraduate student government associations, we probably are one of the worst ones, to be honest. Like, they have a lot of great initiatives. They meet with all the faculty to a higher extent. And I think we have really a lot to learn from all these other groups. For example, like Temple gets a stipend. So I mean, Katie Bonner, if you're reading this, like I wouldn't mind like $5,000 a year. And CCP. Yeah, so things like that, I think it's really important in the future to keep collaboration in mind, especially with Drexel that they're right next to us. So definitely looking forward to working with these groups in the future and making the UA better through learning through them. Also, we have like a charter. This is here if you want to check the actual link. This is a picture of it with all of our signatures. This is basically like the Constitution and we're like the founding like fathers and mothers. But this is like the PSGA charter. Okay, we have UC steering on Wednesday. UA steering updates, a few key things. One, because we have a lot of AMs, we're going to change the attendance requirements. In order to do this, there needs to be a bylaw change. I'm proposing the bylaw today and it'll be codified like on the next, not the next Sunday, but the Sunday after that. But AMs are now not required to come to UA steering, but EMs are still required to attend 2 out of the 4 UA steering. This is simply because we want to have enough seats in the room for like the UA steering representatives, but I highly encourage you to still come to UA steering if you're interested. Many interesting things will happen. Well, especially on the 14th, will be a pretty fun meeting. In addition to that, I wrote this like one pager on what I think the focus of UA steering should now be. The main thing is these are 3 issues I've identified with UA steering this year and the past year. To sum it up really quickly, 1, we tend to bring in administrators. I don't think those administrators are that like important to the way UA steering as a forum benefits from. Second, it's unclear how there's common goals across all groups in UA steering when they cover such different paths and parts of the university. And the third thing is it's also unclear how what we do in UA steering actually affects organizations on the ground. So I made like 6 proposed solutions. First is like information sharing. We meet with all of these broader organizations as and departments as the UA. Sharing that with the specific organizations will help like decrease redundancy. Second is with relevant small group discussions. Third is document signing. I want the UA student representatives to feel as though like they're getting their voice out there. And so large part of that is like if an organization, like Page, for example, wants to make a statement, then they'll make that statement, but they can also have signatories or like co-sponsors that can come from the UA student representatives. So their like statements can be held with more weight to it. Then we'll have an open forum similar to here, just be more proactive. And then this is really key. I think a large part of the UA should be how can we platform other groups' projects through the UA to create actual change. For example, if we have an idea that touches like what the Disabled Coalition also covers, we should be collaborating with them because they have a lot of specific knowledge that can help us do a better job. We have a lot of generalized knowledge that can help them do a better job. So instead of us pursuing projects in isolation, working with them through a forum like UA Student is really important then to see progress happen faster and more efficiently. And then that's just a summary of all the meetings I've had in the past 2 weeks. And then lastly, I want to write a resolution for sports club funding. What is a resolution? So a resolution is essentially the highest form of advocacy the UA can do. Think of this like a silver bullet of student voices on campus. It's a statement that represents the entire undergraduate body that's sent directly to an administrator, the board of trustees, Jameson, etc. Last year, we passed a resolution that I co-authored called like the Investments Transparency Resolution. This was essentially asking the board of trustees to disclose their endowment. Resolution will look something like this. It's a pretty formal document with a summary, FAQ, and like all these clauses. And so while this one obviously did not pass because we haven't disclosed our endowment yet, I still personally think there's a lot of value in showing the sentiment of the undergraduates to the higher level admin. And so why is this relevant to sports club funding? Right now, the UA through SAC funds $326,000 to club athletic sports. I don't think this is something that the UA should be covering. It should be something that Penn Athletics should be covering, given that club sports tend to be very like in line with Penn Athletics and very like time consuming, and it's not really to the same level and degree for other clubs on campus. So this resolution should be essentially asking Penn Athletics to absorb the cost or absorb partial amounts of cost of the sports club costs, and hopefully we can clear up some money. I think this is important because one, it's pretty salient of an issue for undergraduates. I think like every single person probably wants like more funding to go towards their clubs. Also, Nye and I ran on this as like one of our key platform points. So we kind of have to at least try. And then the third is even if they say no, and really I believe this is the logic we should take in the UA is even if they say no and they shut it down, nothing happens, like at least we made a statement to represent people's interests rather than throwing our hands in the air and saying we give up. So over the next week or so, I'll draft this up. I think it would be cool if a couple of new members, which if we were interested, were to hop on, I'll move you into the process and then we'll share with the rest of them. So if you're interested as a new member, just text me, I'll keep you in the loop, and then like I'll onboard you into this process. But yeah, that's everything. And then I'll be back at the end for new business, but any questions? Yeah.
Do you see this as sort of a stepping stone for a much larger project in terms of having conversations about what is the UA doing that other departments and divisions of Penn should be doing?
No, definitely, yeah. Where I think airport shuttles is a good example. Photo booth is a good example. I think, yeah, I mean,
There's so much.
there's so much that we should not be doing that they're doing and that they should not be doing that we could be doing. So a lot of it then is like, how can we reduce redundancy? And I think this is definitely a future step towards that. Any other questions? Okay, nice.
So. Oh, I don't know if I can scroll down. What, I never knew.
The bounce is on the screen.
Oh, it's on, my apologies. There we go. So, we had our meeting with Drexel. There is a lot of room for collaboration, and just for, some context, like, they also have 5 committees and they're pretty much the same as ours. So I'm hoping we're gonna be able to have a joint meeting with them and their committee directors and our committee director and talk about collaboration, community events, and all the work that they've been doing, and then also hearing from us. So excited about that partnership. Had the DPS advisory board meeting this week. There wasn't anything too major that was covered, but I can quickly go through things. Beautiful new uniforms are going to be rolled out over the next month, or it might be slightly longer. If you saw the news, the Philadelphia Police Department is transitioning to midnight blue. So it's a dark blue. It is what most law enforcement, or like city law enforcement agencies wear now. Think of NYPD, MPD, and DC. So that's rolling out. There's been a lot of controversy with the Philadelphia Police Department and the amount of money they're spending on that, but Penn is following them. The main reason they say is because the manufacturer does not make the powder blue shirts anymore. So they're switching to the midnight blue. The other thing, and I forgot to add this on here, an interesting change that I probably wouldn't have made, to be honest, but any sergeant or above will now wear a white shirt. Normally, most departments have lieutenants and above wearing white shirts. I don't really know why they're giving sergeants white shirts, but that's to signify any supervisor. So anyone that's in a white shirt, that's a Penn police officer, is a supervisor. With Penn Alert, it's been a 2-year project to roll it over to the new system, which is now Everbridge. They do emergency communication for a lot of different departments, including the Philadelphia Office of Emergency Management, and stuff in DC as well. So it was a little annoying for me. And that also goes to the next point with the new short code. So if you are signed up for other alerts through Everbridge, like the Philadelphia Office of Emergency Management, it comes through the same number. And they're looking into that. And I was confused when I got the Penn Alert a week ago because it came from that. I had that contact saved. So that's something they're looking at. It is a much better system, much more modern. The old one, they had to like manually add people in. It automatically uploads to the DPS website. And instead, I don't know if you ever went on the DPS website before, probably just me, to be honest. But if there is a Penn Alert, it used to block out the whole screen and you'd have to click off it every time. Now they just have a little banner at the top. But if there are ever any issues, please reach out to DPS. They've said it worked well and they've had a few tests at this point. There was a conversation about the recent assaults on Walnut and near 40th. She didn't go into much detail, but there are a few people of interest that they've identified, and there might have been movement on those potential arrests. They are doing a lot more high visibility patrols. You might see them with their lights on, and also getting out of their squad cars and walking around. But they've also worked with the schools. They've talked with the principals. Chief Wood said he was talking with one of the principals early this week. So hopefully things calm down, but that's sort of their strategies. Any questions? No? Yes?
Did they provide like evidence of this social media trend?
They just said it was a TikTok trend.
Did they provide evidence?
They did not. But I'm sure I could follow it. Are you suspicious of the?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure they don't want it to spread more widely. It could be on our spams. Other questions? Yes. But we real guys. If you quiet down, please. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Did they say anything about like policy when like pop-ups come up the stuff like that? Like when they could intervene?
For like when there's large groups, or
I guess like I'm thinking of near field of like people like shouting out stuff.
Oh yes, okay, yes. So that happened after, but I've talked about them with this before. So they unfortunately a lot of that is public property, and so they can push them as far out from campus as possible. But like once they get to that intersection, they can't do anything because it's off of Penn property, and they have the right to protest as of right now. Maybe it depends on what you're protesting, but you'll notice that they'll have usually Philadelphia Civil Disturbance Unit. They wear plain clothes and they have like a little patch on. So unfortunately, there's not a lot that can be done if they're on. And actually, I think they're parts of Locust and then Woodland Walk that is public property, and so it's hard to. There's not a lot that they can do, unfortunately. But if you don't see, if they've just arrived, for example, you can always call Penn Police and they'll come up.
Did they specifically mention there's like more police presence on Walnut? Cause like,
yeah,
I feel like I've walked around, there's been so like much more presence.
Yeah, It's, I think, a deterrent for any of these assaults. That's where the majority of the assaults have been happening. And yeah, they said as well, like they're not, targeting people. They're not gonna disband groups. Like it's a very a small number of people in the group that is causing problems. So they're just out there to be visible and to make sure things don't happen. Cool. Okay. I'll continue with my.
Wait, just go to like the.
Oh. Sorry, did I do that? Here we go. Yeah, I think they were interviewing people about this too.
There's a CBS interview.
Yeah. So maybe they can shed some more light on it, our friends at Fox 29. In terms of upcoming meetings, meeting with Dawn from Office of Government Community Affairs to talk about voting information in college houses. That'll be after fall break. No committee meetings this week, and there's also no GBM next week for fall break. You guys who are new will be sent the form to choose your committees or rank your committees. We'll try to put you on the committees that are your first couple preferences, but we have to balance numbers and make sure that everyone is in a committee. So that will be sent out shortly. We're gonna have videos attached, quick updates and an overview of the committees from the committee directors. So thank you to them for doing that. And you can also reach out to committee directors or to me if you have questions about that, but that will be coming out very soon. And then we'll have you placed in those committees for the week we come back from fall break, because that will be when committees start again. For retreat, we were watching it happen live, and those tickets were flying, which is great to see. There are several people who haven't paid, and so if you haven't been in communication with me, please make sure you paid. Otherwise, we'll have to start reaching out, and we won't be able to go. So please pay. But that's about it.
Wait, also the 8-day visitors.
Yeah, we're there weren't many rules. So I talked to my guy Tyrone, who works at Chamonix, or however it's pronounced. Chamonix. He didn't really have any rules, which is good. So we're seeing if people can come during the day, and are going to clarify those things. Also potentially adding some more beds, but we'll follow up with that.
Yeah, so should we only fill out the form when we get clarification on how we're doing the day?
Yeah. No need to fill it out because we don't have that confirmed. Yeah.
Sophie.
Is there like a return time on the 19th for the retreat?
I believe the checkout is 11. So probably around then. But I mean, people can leave early.
Yeah, we could leave earlier, but you might need the extra sleep.
Yeah. 11.
Seems if I did dress, you something to leave earlier.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we'll be very short. Today we met about budget committee, Aiden, Musa, Yadu, Pierce, and I. We're gonna talk about it later in new business. And I'm meeting with Katie Bonner on Monday for my weekly one.
Just gonna scroll down. Okay. Okay, so I had 2 meetings of note this week. One was with Joe Russo from Airport Shuttles. So as we talked about, Musa talked about, we want more departments at Penn to sort of absorb things that the UA is doing. Because we think that they should be doing airport shuttles. So I discussed 3 things with them. The costs of the airport shuttles, if they were going to contribute any money to airport shuttles this year, and then the future of the program and whether business services was open to absorbing the cost and like running this program, because previously Naya and I believe Musa met with Karu and talked about the potential of them absorbing the program. So the first is the cost of the airport shuttles this year. So last year the cost was for the fall $4,300 and for the spring $3,800, but we're going to look into the cost for that year. And then I asked them for funding this year and they said no. And then I asked them if they asked for like absorbing the future cost of like absorbing this program and running this program, and they said no.
Their reasoning for that was pretty brief. They said the UA has always funded this. And Penn Transit is a subsidized program and you guys are gonna have to subsidize this. Not really sure, like I followed the logic, but whatever. We're gonna be continuing in talks and we're gonna be pressuring people about it. I think in future meetings. The next step, yeah, Pierce.
Are we making any money this year?
So we're looking into that. So I think the cost that I just gave are like probably what is very close to what it's gonna cost again, but I have to meet with get their names, but people from Penn Transit itself to schedule like the exact times we're gonna have it, because previously I believe the fall session was 2 days from like the Tuesday and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But I believe like Naya in the spring also like moved around the times so that there was like more availability. That because people like tended not to take the very early morning shuttles and took more later ones. We made more money on the later ones. So once we look into those costs, we'll see if we end up making anything. We do sell tickets. And then I didn't write this on here, but I'm meeting with Penn Labs very soon. The secretary is like the advisory board to Penn Labs. And we have previously used like Ticket Fee to do the tickets, but we're hoping that maybe we can get airport shuttles tickets on Penn and Mobile this year. Yes, Pierce.
And thoughts on if we actually don't make any profit overall, why don't we just not do airport shuttles? I know it's kind of crazy, but.
No, I get like where you're coming from. We've done airport shuttles for years, and this is just my opinion. I don't really know the opinion of anyone else here, but I do believe airport shuttles is a wonderful service that we offer, and I do think it makes people's lives easier for students. I do believe that VPOL or like another office or department at Penn should cover these costs. However, I would rather have a decreased social internal fund for UA and provide this service to students. I do believe it's a wonderful service we provide. So I think we will do airport shuttles. At least that's my opinion. Musa?
Yeah, I think if we break even, there's no harm in doing it, but if we're negative, then we can definitely really explore the conversation afterwards.
It's also in our budget currently.
We did budget for it, not that much.
Well, yes, I mean like.
In the future, yeah, that's definitely gonna be a conversation, and I definitely think that's gonna continue to be a conversation as well, about the future of this program. Okay, so Setley. So Mo, Ben, and I met with Bruce Lenthal on Wednesday to discuss this at the advisory board. We discussed member composition topics, like topics of discussion for the advisory board, and then how we're gonna market that. So like from this and CAB, I think we decided that Ben and I are going to chair the advisory board, at least at first, to sort of like help with the start and survival of the advisory board. We're working on other member composition, like whether we're a member of 7B or whether we will have members of SKU, and then how I think we're gonna get the NEC to sort of interview people initially, but we had talked about this being like a self-sustaining board, and then how we're gonna market this, or how the NEC and help the NEC market this to. Yes. How we're gonna get the NEC to market this so that we attract people who will be committed and who will bring a diverse array of perspectives. Yes.
If anyone is interested in joining the Sally Advisory Board, talking more about it, please reach out to Julia.
Yeah, please reach out to me, and we'll talk more about it. So then next meetings, as I mentioned, Penn Transit, I'm meeting with them specifically to organize the schedule of airport shuttles. Setley, to finalize these things, and then also Penn Labs, which I forgot to write on here, but Penn Labs will be after fall break. Yes. And then then Pierce, you asked a question about like if we'll make enough money. Last Thanksgiving shuttles, we sold 548 tickets and we made $2,487.92, which obviously would not be enough to cover shuttles. So I think on the UA's end, it comes like it's really important that like when they start doing when it's time for us to start doing promotion and stuff, there's a lot of individual promotion that has to go into this in order for us to continue to provide this service at that $5 price point, and to continue providing it at all. So like keeping in mind as this starts to go along, because you're seeing really on the back end how we're operating in deficit with this. So
Yeah, individual, we're gonna work with comms, I'm gonna, I think, have an airport shuttles committee that's gonna help with like the logistics. But we're gonna work with Taya and comms, to sort of market this. There's a really fun video that Naya put out last year. Go check out the social media if you can see it. Also I didn't mention that VCall has committed $3,000 to the project. So anyway, that is it.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
What were like the specific topics of discussion that you talked about, like that you guys came from?
Oh, yeah, so we talked about, Setley's very interested in a number of things. So Setley, something important to remember about Setley, the Center for, Excellence Teaching. Excellence in Teaching, Learning and Innovation.
Yes.
So because professors have tenure, they can advise professors, but they can't like force them to do anything. So one part is like hearing students' perspectives on what they think professors should be doing. And maybe whether that's grade forgiveness or topics in the classroom. And then the other two topics that they're really very interested in is AI. Where's AI going? And how are professors like either adopting it or banning AI altogether in their classrooms? And then free speech. Do professors, faculty, and students feel that they're able to express their opinions willingly, or not willingly, voluntarily, comfortably? And so I think those topics will be brought up at the advisory board, and they're looking to do events and like maybe panels where faculty and students can sort of learn from each other. There were a few successful ones last year, so they're looking to mimic those.
About the airport shuttles and the, kind of high costs of it, I just want to add this, for a possible future conversation.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that, and from conversations with a lot of students here, that, the SEPTA airport line is obviously an alternative that most people don't know about, and most people also don't take, despite there being a station on campus.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to inquire.
Yeah, so I think SEPTA is much more expensive than what the airport shuttles tickets would be. It's double what it would be, so it's much more expensive. And then obviously Uber is also much more expensive, even if you guys are like taking Uber or joining Uber together. So the Penn Airport shuttles has like traditionally been an option that is cheaper, more affordable, and picks people up right outside the quad. So very, very convenient. I also think it's like a very great way. I met so many people in the UA last year, like doing my shuttle shift. So I just think it's like an awesome form of UA bonding as well. So controversial opinion, but I like standing out in the cold and like meeting people. So I think it's a wonderful thing. Definitely something that should be put into
I also think it's harder to change public perception about wanting to use SEPTA to get to the airport with suitcases rather than providing the alternative of airport shuttles to let people go there. So I think like if we were to communicate heavily and push for people to use SEPTA, I'm not sure how much that would increase people's like opting into using SEPTA rather than just taking Ubers.
But I do definitely think that, when the airport shuttle is an offer, so for Christmas break, for example, that the UA could have much more of a role in kind of advocating for people to use that SEPTA airport line in the first place.
Yeah, we're definitely, I agree. Yeah, I like it.
All right, I'm gonna take it from here, boss. Give me a sec. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexis Argoza, and
Where's your camera?
Hello, y'all. My name is Alexis Argoza, and I'm very excited to go through this agenda with y'all. But yeah, first off, I just want to give some quick updates as to DHT. So I've held most of the one-on-ones so far. A lot of great stuff with the. What's up?
No,
So, a lot of great stuff with the project updates. So I've been meeting one-on-one with most of my committee. A lot of great stuff that I'll get into with a moment. And then I had my one-on-one with Michael Scales. We talked about various areas for the UA and business services to collaborate, as well as answered some questions that were brought up by the body. So specifically to quickly answer Andrew Liu's question, Junior Andrew Liu's question from last week about just kind of what's it called? Penn Transit making up the gaps from recent SEPTA cuts. Unfortunately, Penn Transit is pretty much at its capacity. Like they are a business that is like barely making it by there on the margin, if not losing profit. So they say like they really don't really expect to be increasing service in conjunction with the recent SETA cuts. And then just quickly going, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Does anyone have any questions about those meetings?
I was gonna say they're in a deficit. Business services as a whole is, but transit specifically.
Pierre,
Yeah, how does Penn make money in that frame?
Pierre said, how does Penn Transit make money?
They really don't. I think what's it called? The costs associated with running Penn Transit are probably offset by the other services that Penn offers, such as specifically dining and residential services, but probably just like coming out of the tuition mainly. That would be my guess. I'm gonna meet with him again, not this week, but next week, so I can bring that question up as well. So thank you. Let me write it down.
Wait, you don't have to ask him, it's just like a.
Well, they operated a deficit, like they spend more than they're.
Right, yeah.
More questions, Aiden.
More questions or no questions?
More questions.
More questions? Like fire away.
David.
All right, hi Alexa. I'd just like to ask about, how Penn Transit, measures and evaluates performance metrics in the first place. So ridership, on-time demand, all of that.
Great question. I unfortunately do not have the information immediately in front of me, but I'll definitely like bump it in an email that I'll send to him. It's just like a weekly communication that we have. So just to correct, what are the metrics for Penn Transit to evaluate its success?
Something along those lines, that works.
Got it. Thank you so much, David. Any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask who Michael Scales was.
He's the GOAT.
So Michael Scales is, in my opinion, the GOAT. He is the VP of Business Services. So he oversees that department of Penn underneath the senior vice president's office. So like he's in charge of like the Penn dining system, the residential system, as well as Penn Transit, as well as actually Morse Arboretum, the hotels, Penn Library, Penn Bookstore, and anything else I'm forgetting, and also the Penn card system.
And more. Conference services, vending machines. There's the list on the website.
Yeah. Any other questions I can help answer?
I have a question.
What's up?
So I decided to take a on-demand shuttle just sort of to test it out. Late at night from DRL to Assad's. Which I've reached out to Assad's as well, trying to get a partnership, so we're gonna see about that. But anyway, I was like, I might as well take a shuttle. I sent these pictures in the CAB group chat, but there were a lot of issues with it. Like I had to call them, and they had to tell me to put in the specific stop for the on-demand shuttle. Like it wouldn't even process my request for putting in. I was like at Franklin, and I was trying to go to Assad's with. So I think I can follow up with you. But anyway, you have to put in like the specific stop. Otherwise, it says that there's no one available. That's pointless.
Yeah, I don't know if this is relevant, but I just remember, but can you ask like, what's the process of getting onto like the dining dollar like system? Cause I know the farmers market, right? They're on the dining dollars, one in the bookstore, but within next to them, there's this like rice ball stand. There's like, do you take dining dollars? I'm like, no, we're in the process of requesting that. So I'm just curious to get insight onto like how those businesses do that.
But at the same occasion, how can we make Food Cafe back to the dining dollars?
Make what? Cafe?
Food Cafe.
Oh, wait, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, you guys are gonna have to. I'm assuming that was Rafa's question.
Why are you assuming?
And then who asked the second question? Because I unfortunately could not quite hear it.
Wait, Aiden, did you hear the question?
You alright, bro?
Yeah, blink twice, you can hear us.
Bro, just please be efficient. I feel like, what's it called? So yeah, I'll speak a little bit to integration into the pandemics.
Wait, Aiden. Oh god. Aiden, can you hear us at all?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Did you hear Rafa's question?
I did. I didn't hear whoever followed up
And
after
then,
her.
okay, Khalil's question after that was about if WillCap could get dining dollars as well, or the process for that.
Okay.
Wait, I was gonna say that Will Cafe is like it was like their
student.
student-run coffee shop, and like if the money goes, it's like student. I don't think they're gonna.
I don't think it's operated by
It's all operated by students. Yeah.
Well, I will also add, like, Drexel, the way they get like Haraz, Cafe, or others to opt into Dragon Dollars, that's the equivalent of Penn Cash. And it's like other people opted into the service rather than like Penn Dining Dollars working with them. So the system in which we would work with them would be a bit different to maybe explore.
Stanley? Yeah, so I can quickly answer the integration question because this came up a lot last year during the dining advisory board. Just when we asked about like, opportunities to integrate Insomnia Cookies, which is housed in Houston Market, as well as what's it called? Just like generally like, what does it take for a business to get integrated? And like the answer that we got then from at the time then from like the former like head of I forgot I think just Penn Dining, which was just that like, they don't want to upset like their internal economy, which is in my opinion a very not very satisfying answer. I could definitely bring this up again because there has been a change in leadership with the arrival of Wendy Spark. So hopefully they're a little bit more open to it and maybe facilitating that process. But I will definitely bump that question. Thank you so much, Khalil and Rafa. But yeah. Silva,
Stanley has a question as well.
What's up?
For the cafe in Potsdok, do they run it? And if there's any way to put dining dollars on it, I think they take like Penn Cash right now, but I don't think we have Penn Cash.
Yeah, no, we do not. I could definitely bring that up. That definitely should be a location that's integrated.
Anna?
One more question about Penn Transit. If you're gonna have a meeting with them soon, I feel like you should ask about the shuttles and the aided because personally, as I've heard from my friends, because of the difficulty with actually scheduling it, no one I know has used it this semester, and it's just not an option anymore for a lot of.
Yeah, do you just mind repeating that? It was just a little difficult to hear you.
She said, I guess her question is more around like ridership with the new on-demand shuttles. She says that she's like gotten feedback from her friends saying that because of how hard it is to schedule the shuttles, her and her friends no longer even use it or consider it as an option. Which I do have a sort of response to that, because when we asked them about ridership since the new updates, they said that nothing's changed.
That's why I want to follow up on that, because I feel like that's not true.
Okay. So she wants you to follow up on ridership for those on-demand shuttles.
Absolutely will do.
Any other questions? You're good, Silva.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And I just really wanted to highlight a couple of very specific great project updates that have happened so far, starting with Rafa, who has been absolutely killing it with what's it called, the ISSS mentorship program. She's met a lot with ISSF. They cleared up a lot of like some of the gaps in communication, and so far it's looking like it's in a really strong position, and will continue into next year. I guess I also wanted to quickly shout out Shakar. Now that he has the code for the return pairing system, he's gonna update it to allow to have like larger groups coming back together, overall saving students a lot more money, and he's also gonna make his project like largely revamping the transit advisory board. And then afterwards, or not afterwards, now Tanvi as well, like she's been killing it with the Houston Composting Initiative. I believe what we've talked about is we're going to move its launch into next semester just to kind of give time for a lot of like new discussions to be had, just because, it was supposed to launch this semester, and like with things falling apart last minute, we want to have kind of those important conversations to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But yeah, overall, like I really wanted to highlight those projects because they've been like putting a lot of time and effort into it and absolutely killing it. And I guess going up next, I want to invite up Yadu, who's going to be talking about his innovation and reform paper, which I highly encourage everyone to quickly read through.
Do 3 minutes and it can be extended.
Yep, that's great. All right, hey guys, my name is Yadu. I'm a junior warden rep on the UA. So for probably the better half of last session and then this session, I really have been working on something like assessing the current state of the UA and looking at the past of the UA and seeing if there's stuff we can learn from what we did before, what other student governments are doing, stuff we can do better. So this is the report I put out. I'm still finalizing citations on here, so I expect this to go out in Slack, like I say here, within 5 or 7 days. But I want to run through some of the key changes here without taking up too much time, since there are about 3 dozen recommendations on here. The first recommendation, which we will actually get to later this meeting, is the formation of a body which is in charge for innovation in the UA, for governance, and for better oversight and collaboration with our PSG branches. So this is the initial draft of that committee, the Innovation, Guidance, and Oversight Committee. And as you'll see later today in New Business, this idea has really evolved from this spark back in April all the way now into a full-fledged proposal and a bylaw amendment. The second thing I really want to focus on here is taking back our power that we've been granted. So under the trustees, the UA is given the power to make recommendations and pass resolutions for representing our student constituents. And one thing that I've noticed, this is something we did decades ago. Every session, we would put out 5 or 6 resolutions or bills or recommendations, from stuff as simple as 24-hour study spaces to open a new basketball court on campus back in the 2000s. And this is one of the main powers that has been explicitly granted to us by the trustees. And I think it's something we should come back to. Like Musav also touched upon, it's something that we need to exercise. It's something we need to pass, to call out attention, to bring advocacy to a matter, to really highlight an issue. Another thing, fun thing that I want to look at, new member speeches. You know, in Congress, every new member has a bit of a speech. I think it's also a cool way to get used to being in the UA. Like when I first came in the UA, I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what I'd talk about. I didn't know what to debate. But I think providing some form of structure where new members are encouraged to go up, share their ideas, share their vision is awesome for us as a body. I think something like a UA historian would also be super fun. So I found out last year we actually have like years of records at the Penn Archives. So it'd be cool to look back at like 50 plus years of the UA and see what they did before, see what their documents are, and meet all the UA alumni. I mean, we're one of the biggest clubs on campus historically by our membership, dating back so many years. I mean, more than half a century, right? But we don't really have that form of an alumni network. I mean, imagine if we had that, it would be awesome. But
So you're at 2 minutes.
can I move to extend by like 2?
Is there a second?
Second.
Also,
In favor of extending? Any opposed?
that'd be awesome. One other quick thing I want to highlight. So back in looking at the powers granted to us by the trustees, right? So I found this out last year. We have the power to request reports from university administration. Now, I haven't heard of us doing this formally anytime in my 1.5 years in UA, but I think it would be immensely valuable to be able to do this to get answers on things students are looking for answers on. You know, whether that's dining, whether that's EI, whether that's AI, whether that's CES, there's stuff that we simply might not get answers to and students are curious about. So we have this power and I think we should use it, and we should try to see if university admin can maybe come in to UA meetings or committee meetings where we can have sort of a Q&A style of questioning and a hearing to really understand what's going on and do our due diligence to represent our students. And the last thing I do want to touch upon, so I think we need to evolve PSG in a lot of ways. You know, we have our branches, we have our constituent branches. I think there's change that needs to be made. The last amendment to the Constitution was in 2009. There hasn't really been big change since then. So I think the branches coming together and working on some form of change would be extremely valuable for not just Penn and the other graduate body, but for students as a whole. This one I'll just touch upon. You can read this full proposal, but basically since the 90s, there's been dozens of plans to reform how UA voting works. Our peer institutions, a lot of them use some form of electoral districts, whether that's college residences, off-campus locations, specific city blocks. I think this would be a great idea to get people involved, because right now you vote for a blank slate of people, right, in your college. But with this plan, you have a representative that feels like they represent you. You know, you can have a K-Check rep, a Hill rep, a Quad rep, and that highly increases the likelihood of people reaching out, directly interacting with their reps, feeling a part of the process. We want student government at Penn to have engagement again. We want people to be voting. We want people to be coming to these meetings. We want people to be asking us to do things, and we want to implement those ideas. And I believe this proposal and a lot of what I've laid out in this report is how we can do that. Yeah, so I'll put this out in the Slack, final form with citations. I'll include like a 1-page TLDR if you don't want to go through, you know, all of this. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or suggestions or anything.
So you made this report and then your goals afterwards are to do what?
To collaboratively see how much of this report can be implemented with buy-in from people and based on their feedback.
Alexa has a question.
Yeah, so this is Alexa. I guess I wanted to ask more specifically about the PSG part, or I guess more specifically, do you plan on circulating this with other branches of student government that are included on this report, specifically SKU and the NEC? Because just looking at the PSG portion, I really do feel like they are not going to be very big fans of a lot of this, and I personally think it removes a lot of the autonomy and checks on the control of the UA. So how are you planning on sharing this with other branches of PSG?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm open to the body's recommendations and suggestions on that. I don't think this is intended to produce autonomy or anything. I think this is just really innovation and coming up with new ideas. So I'm open to what the body thinks on that, and the circulation of this. I mean, whether internally or publishing externally, anything's fine by me.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more specific, but for like the IG renovation plan. What do you think, what do you think like the responsibilities of that committee being, because it sounds more like an auditing committee, but I'm sure that's not what it is, but what do you?
Sure, yeah, and this idea was iterated on, and we'll come to this later today, but the idea we can talk about this later, but the idea is to be like a collaborative problem solver with within the UA and other branches of PSG. Yeah.
I'm just curious about how it's determined the number of representatives per college. Just the number of students in that college and Wharton sees. I'm just curious why nursing has one.
Like, you're saying the current structure?
Yes.
Yeah, it's proportional to the amount of students.
Okay.
But I agree, it's unfortunate that nursing only has one, even though they're small. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask about the proposed changes to the election process. Like, could you clarify what the benefit to that would be? I don't know, like maybe zone out for a second.
Sure, no, I mean, similar to a lot of things, I think it allows constituencies with limited seats to have more members there, like for example, nursing, right? Like, no matter what, only one non-freshman nursing representative can be on the UA at any point in time, right? But now, I mean, it's more representative, but there could be, the school allocated nursing rep, but there could also be someone who lives in Harnwell, who's a nursing student and who wins the Harnwell seat, right? I think it also provides more opportunities for engagement, right? If you know someone is your representative based on your district or your geography, there's more opportunities to engage with them, to directly ask them questions, to go to them, for them to host events and listening sessions and town halls, see what's going on. I just think it'd be a better way to get more people voting and engaged in student government. Yeah.
Why do you think where you're residentially located on campus is a thing that should be represented in the student body and not necessarily what classes you take, what school you?
Sure. I mean, this proposal right now has a mix.
Right.
It has half of the seats allocated by college and half of them also by residency. And the idea is to make sure a lot of the issues on campus can affect specific locations and they can have those insights. Like, I'm just thinking back to work on DHT, right? Maybe there's an issue raised in one building or one particular set of buildings. The other thing is, I think this is a good balance of a model, and it's something a lot of universities, student governments also follow. But again, like I said, all these ideas are not the be all end all. These are just a starting point for a lot of discussion that I think we can have, and they'll be beneficial to work on the UA and PSG. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about like how platforming and like people running, like if you're running to like represent a building, and kind of a big follow up. I believe like Yale, for example, they do like elections based on like residential colleges, but they're like really big on their housing and like yeah, they live there for 4 years, have their own dining halls, their own libraries. It's a really big thing. I don't think people like in like Bowdoin and like Harrison care about each other that much. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's not like that sense of like community within those dorms. Maybe more so like Quad or Hill or like not even Lauderdale, just like Quad or Hill, I would say. So I don't know like how this would like translate well to Penn, given like on the structure.
Sure, it's an idea we can come back to. Yeah. I mean, I figured I'd flag it because there's been dozens of proposals like with residential districts over the last decade. Yep.
Could you like maybe like zones, like zone reps? So like Quad, then Hill, Lauder, K-Check, and then high rises up here.
It's like
Yeah, I
only
mean,
per
that,
house.
that's what's been advocated. So the freshman houses are delineated and then and there's an off-campus 11 as well. Yeah.
There's a point in here about UA body meeting efficiency. Could you touch on that?
Yeah, so in terms of the UA body meeting efficiency, one of the things I've noticed, and I think this year has been better, but at the time of writing, when I had written this last year, one of the things I noticed was that there isn't that much space for discussion and debate from the UA. A lot of times it feels like maybe we're talking about specific reports or specific meetings, but not necessarily like having a sort of vibrant or lively debate or discussion about next steps. I think this is something that I've seen today, and it's been awesome to see like the debate we've had, people asking questions, going back and forth. But I think this is something we can move towards maybe a little bit better. Yeah.
Following up on that, what things do you think should have been debated in the past that were not debated?
I mean, I can come up with ideas for stuff that like people didn't debate or express. You know, I think there's a multitude of things that are out there that people can talk about.
Like last year, like what?
Well, I can't speak for
think
other
so.
people, like the ideas they had that they didn't bring to the UA.
It's also like a catch-22 of like, if less information is shared, then there's less potential to debate it. Like, if we share less information last year, then we can't really debate because it's less like talk on it. Compared to now, if we share more information, there's more possibility for discussion.
Sophie?
Yeah.
For the like splitting it by housing, I feel like freshmen identify more with where they live and there are more differences. I think it could be interesting to kind of test out this program by doing, instead of 8 new student reps, maybe doing housing reps for them.
100%. I think it's a great idea.
Andrew?
At one point, it's like you don't get to choose where you live freshman year. Like I got my 6th choice. Like you're gonna choose what school you're in. You're gonna choose what major you take. But I don't really understand like how this is like a constituency that's represented by like individuals' choices.
Sure. I mean, I think these are all perspectives we need to take into account when we see if there's an action to be taken. Again, the point of this report really is to serve as an overarching view of ideas that have been circulated before or ideas that have been generated, and just take a look and see whether they're relevant, whether they work or not. So really just putting the pen to the paper. Questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Yada.
Awkward 30-second walk up.
That's all.
Clever.
Hey everyone. So I don't really have significant updates for AI. We just haven't really been meeting in the past week because of steering or whatever other reasons. I have, however, used the project planning template that Naya showed everyone last week and filled it out for my long form proposal. So I'll walk you guys through what that looks like, just so you guys can have an idea when you guys draft your proposals. So the first element of this is basically just a problem statement. It's just, what is the issue you're actually trying to solve? It's explaining why it's something that needs to be solved. Think of it as if you wanted to convince the assembly, or if you wanted to convince people that are coming into, oh yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Wait.
Good, 100%.
Is this clear?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, this is where you will explain why it's a problem, and you can use some statistics. You don't really need to. You can also talk about maybe student opinion, the opinions of people you've worked with, and also looking into what has Penn done in the past. So I think one thing that is really important here is making sure that this isn't a project that has already been attempted numerous times. I think printing and dining are both really important examples where every year people try to rehash the same projects without looking at the precedent. And then the next part is basically going to look at who you're going to work with. And this part is kind of unfinished because I'm still not sure the full extent of which administrative groups, which student groups I would want to work with on this project. And I mean, these are some ideas. You guys can reach out to me if you guys have more. And I realized since I talked about this idea last week, but to those of you that weren't there, basically this is a plan to try to pass a resolution calling on the trustees to adopt an open expression statement, especially in light of current pressures from like the government to influence open expression at Penn. And so this is basically you list everyone that you might need to work with. Everyone from members of Penn admin to other student groups, student clubs, so on. I think this is probably the most important part, which is just having a rough idea of what you're going to do. I think it's good to have these lists to sort of keep yourself accountable so that if you are falling behind, you know what you need to be working on, and also so that the other people that you're working on these projects with, such as administrators, student groups, or your committee directors, can have an idea of what you're doing and how to help you and how to keep you on track. So try to like create some loose steps. It doesn't have to be super specific. No plan really survives first contact. So like you're gonna have to adapt, but you want to have a rough idea. Of course, this includes like the resources. This plan doesn't really require many resources. It's not resource intensive. Some will, but my recommendation is try to focus on projects that are not resource intensive, because I think a lot of the ways you can really improve campus life don't require extensive finances. So finances can really get in the way and really put a project to a full stop. So that's just something to think about. Finally is who you're going to reach out to. Fortunately, in my case, I don't really need to reach out to anyone. But in a lot of cases, you're going to have projects that are very, very much involved with administrators. So you may have 1 or 2 points of contact that you want to be staying in contact with, probably no fewer than like once every 2 or once every 3 weeks. Otherwise, they forget the ball. You want to keep the ball rolling. And if you're not staying in constant contact, you're just not going to, they're going to move on. So this is basically a breakdown of how you would create these project proposals. One thing to know is it doesn't need to be incredibly long. It doesn't need to be like a 10-page thing. It just shows that you've thought about different elements of the project, that you've thought about how you're going to achieve it, on what timeline, with who you're going to work on it with, and what resources you need. So that's basically my project plan breakdown. And this is also on the GBM agenda. So you guys can, of course, refer to it when you guys are drafting your own projects. That's all.
DES.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. My report is pretty quick today. Do you mind like scrolling down just a bit?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so today I did one-on-ones with all of the CES members. They went well. We kind of just went over like a few project updates. I think like the most notable is that Gustav he had a meeting today with one of the TSO reps. So exciting that we're getting that project moving. For I guess like the freshmen who don't know about Gustav's project, it's kind of about creating a more established mentorship program between like new transfers and upperclassmen transfers, and also expanding that to freshmen. And then we also kind of just like set goals for fall break and for when we're coming back afterwards. I also gathered everyone's interest in terms of what we're going to be doing for our committee-wide project. And I think right now it's looking more like either farmers market or what was the other one? An event supplies library. So having just like reusable supplies that different student groups can use. And I think like one of the main reasons why I want to do like a committee-wide project is kind of just to like create like more of like a community and kind of like a less individualized type of project. So I'm definitely excited about that. And then project updates. So CES and comms are going to be just like collaborating with the climate week. There's this student that's kind of working on like all of like the marketing and things like that. So we'll be just like promoting that just because it is a very important initiative that's happening on campus. So if you guys are free, I believe it's the week we get back from fall break. Definitely attend that. And then Penn Sustainability reached out and they offered a few opportunities for collaborating with them, either doing kind of like a cleanup day They mentioned we wanted a park, but Aiden, Carol, and I more so talked about doing, I think you said it was called like First Thursdays or something like
Yes.
that. Okay. Do you mind elaborating on that a little bit, just so like people can know what it's about?
Yeah, so the Office of Government Community Affairs hosts what they call First Thursdays, the first Thursday of every month, and it brings together all the community groups in the area. And I've never been. I've just learned about this last week at the DPS meeting. So I guess I think Penn presents stuff, Office of Government Community Affairs, and then also receive feedback from the other community groups. It's going to be fall break, so but I'm hoping that we can have people go to that in future and maybe have it as an external seat as well.
Yes, definitely. And then we'll be like sending updates about that in the Slack for like anyone who wants to attend whenever it comes up. And then the other one was just kind of like getting more engaged in West Philly with this tree ceremony that they do. But yeah, just kind of like wanted to put that on your guys' radar for getting more involved in the community. And that's all if you guys don't have any questions.
Hi. Wait, okay, we have a project proposal.
Final project proposal.
Did Jeffrey or Andrew or Audrey want to present? Yeah. Can you zoom in?
We'll do 3 minutes together.
We do for it. And that's excluded, including Q&A.
I'll give you the
You wanna start off? Can we get a drum roll? I'm really excited about this.
For like the past 2 months, we've been like looking into basically reviving Penn's undergraduate art gallery. So a little bit of background. Before COVID, Penn used to have this thing called the Fox Gallery, I believe, in the Admissions Visitor Center. If you go into like the Houston entrance, it's like the room to the left. That's like super decked out with like water fountains and like chairs. They even have GSRs in there now. But basically over COVID, they decided to just like kick them out. Yeah, and then like paint over like the walls with like a bunch of like propaganda and whatnot. And then
This guy, like Robert Fox, was a trustee, and he died in 2021, and this was his gallery. And then they got
Got rid of it. Yeah, I'm just like scrolling through some pictures of past exhibitions that I've had. Like this has been like pretty long running in the past, but I just want to get you like a feel of like what it used to be like.
So we figured like we should like get this back. Yeah, so
Is
we've
that
been
Robert Fox?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Perhaps.
yeah, I don't know. So we've been in contact with I mean like I think Timothy Rahman, who's like the vice VP of the vice provost of the arts here. And we discussed like a couple of spots. I think what we're particularly looking for by like discussing this in front of you guys is like suggestions, especially in like the realm of like ideas where this could possibly be located. So a couple of spots that we've been discussing. Tim Rahman was really hot on Biotech Commons. I'm not hot on Biotech Commons. We'd have to do like a lot of renovating. Wait. Let's start off by like telling you guys like what my values are when it comes to looking for like this space, right? It has to be, I feel like we can't do like a study space or like a library, right? Or else like I feel like it's low-key gonna get like disrespected, you know? Like for instance, I think one of the spots we talked about was like when you enter Houston to the right, there's like that space where like everyone eats and like does homework. I think that was brought up as like a particular possible idea. Space setting for this project. I don't like it because people are gonna study there. I feel like people aren't gonna necessarily. I feel like instead of the gallery being like the focus of the space, it's gonna be more like background art. You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm like losing it. Can
Okay, but that we talked about was like having it be a space that's highly trafficked, so students are able to go through it and see it on their way maybe to somewhere else, and so it doesn't kind of get abandoned while still having a focus primarily on the art as opposed to like being a space for students to hang out and hold.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think something that would be awesome is that if it could be in a building that's accessible to campus visitors. So this would be like Claudia Cohen, Fisher Fine Arts. What other, I don't know, but basically those are like the two main ones I know.
Houston is open to the public.
Yeah, Houston, yeah, could you walk me through?
I also want to walk briefly through the timeline that we've outlined out. So we've been working on this project since last semester when Raman was first nominated to the VP of Arts position. I was a committee director back then, and we held a meeting where he focused on support for this. Since then, we've outlined a pretty rough timeline, including meeting with Vice President of Arts again, also the senior curator at Penn, Lynn Dolby, Guru Kozuma, again, Vipul, Matt Neff, who runs the SACS program of Innovation in the Arts, to really get some more administrative support, scouting these venues, which we want to hear a little bit more take from everyone else here. In the long term, we're interested in establishing a student advisory group that the UA would be in charge of for the first like 1.5 years, and then eventually have that rotate. And then eventually, ideally, this would be something that happens by next semester. At the end of this year, we'd be sorting out logistics, selecting artworks at the beginning of next semester. And then ideally, in the beginning of next semester, when we come back to school, we're able to have some sort of gallery opening and really start this project off. We've definitely outlined a lot of different stakeholders that'd be interested. We've estimated some costs based off just like what it requires to map, frame, and do the renovations from semester to semester. The vice president of the arts vocalized that they'd be supportive of funding a small amount of whatever number we come up with, but additionally we'll have to look for other funding sources. And ultimately, like, our questions for you after submitting this project proposal is these challenges up here, including your ideas on where to find a good home, your ideas on how this could be some project that returns long term, then also like just individually promotion to other people. I think we're a little over time now, but happy to take any questions.
Wait, do you know what happened to all the previous art that used to be in there?
I mean, it was rotating, so it wasn't like permanent. I assume that before COVID, it was cleared out. And different departments would host exhibitions, right? So like, for example, like the design department would host an exhibition there, and then Spec Art Collective was also a Spec department prior to COVID as well, and they would host exhibition there like once a semester. So I'm assuming like wherever the art pieces are, I'm sure they're fine.
Wait, I think on that note, I think what would be cool is if we had like a rotating part of the exhibition and also more permanent pieces that would just stay there throughout the existence of this gallery. Yeah, sorry. Naya, do you have a question?
Yeah, mine was just about like bringing up the spec art, group or committee that there existed. I think maybe reaching out to spec and finding out like what happened to that committee and like what their role was in it. Cause like my understanding was that they did the largest role in actually rotating the art and like maintaining it. Then I guess it's working with various hack groups.
All right. Yeah. There's not a ton of surviving knowledge. They were removed from the Constitution as of last year. I think mostly because after COVID, there wasn't really a space for them to operate, and then just wasn't a lot of like during COVID itself, there wasn't a lot of demand for that committee to operate either. Sophia.
What is the space used for now?
Inky.
Yeah, it's like
Kite and Key tour guides stay there when they don't do a tour.
yeah, it's like a visitors lounge. So there's like a coffee machine and some like a water, like a carbonated water machine. So the kind of key tour guides can go there. Parents and like interested students are allowed to go there in between like information sessions. But like I would agree with Jeffrey. I don't think it's like a heavily utilized space.
Like they have like a GSR in there. I don't know why. Like
It's empty most of the time.
yeah,
There's nothing on the wall.
nothing on the
Except
wall.
for Ben Franklin and some students.
Like people already use it. There's already like an auditorium that they use, and I feel like the space is already cured. Sorry, there's an auditorium that is used to present stuff already, and this room that they converted from the art gallery is, I feel like, is very purposed to be another auditorium as well, which doesn't really make sense to me. So again, yeah, has zero purpose. I think we did bring up the fact that like we could like, you know, like give them the boot and like, you know, like reestablish the art gallery there, but like I think Tim said he didn't like
to that.
I now that I think about it, I also don't really like that idea either. I forget why though.
We follow up from Sophia, then Bobia, and then Khalil.
Just gonna ask, like, so you guys don't think it's a good idea to go back into that space?
Wait, why did we not like it?
I just think it's gonna be difficult, like the emissions dean would have to like give it their approval. They try to give us like a backup option, saying like the hallway behind the emissions office in Pioneer Cone, which is like kind of depressing.
There's no natural
So
light.
yeah, I mean, it's something we can revisit and then revisit, but I just feel like that has a lot of resistance when other departments might be more receptive to having the art gallery. Then Bobia?
Wait, I remember HIPAA last year, like, wanted to do an arch. Why was that ruled out?
I don't think it's completely rolled out. It's just like Arch is a very historic building, and this would require at least some modifications, things like lighting, and like putting nails into walls, etc. So I think that was something that we considered in our conversations, but it's not like out of the question at all. It's like the base inside Arch would it be in the first place. Nagu?
There is like an empty room in small second floor, which was like Spark office, but now Spark moved to
Oh,
something
Spark
else.
completely moved to the
Yeah,
new
Spark
center?
is- Yeah, and now you think like actually you're looking for like something to replace, and they've been asking what should we do?
Really? Can we add that to the Spark meeting next week?
It's not under Spark stuff.
Yeah,
It's under university.
What was, you wanna explain to the Spark?
The Spark office, former Spark office is just vacant right now.
Yeah, I think it was like completely new to the church.
It's now under the term of University Life Service and Space Center.
You'll see.
It's called.
Building manager, we contact them, yes.
Yes, I contact the advisory board first.
Advisory, which is.
There's a Houston Hall advisory.
Okay, contact them first and then, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, but that's a great suggestion, I know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know if someone mentioned this before, but there's a new performing arts center that's opening by Hill, and I don't know if there's a space that's like planned for something like this, but I feel like a space that's dedicated to arts could possibly be nice.
We definitely touched on that. Ron was actually very supportive of like factoring that into planning allocation of the new performing arts center. But again, like that won't finish construction until 2027 at the earliest. So at least in the years in between, we would like the space temporary or permanent. If it eventually moves to the performing arts center, that'd be a great permanent space for it as well. But like that is like 2 or 3 years down the line. So also want to consider.
Yeah,
what
some of
happens.
the folks can handle that for us.
Yeah, when you're a senior, you can make sure that happens.
Anything else? Anyone else? Oh, sorry. Okay, cool.
Yay.
Thanks, you.
Yeah, this is awesome, awesome work. I can't find my mouse. Yeah, I am meeting with NYU's facilities director on Tuesday at 12 p.m. to talk about the supply closet. Anyone is interested in coming with me, please Slack me. Would love to have more than just me on that, and I think it would be a very productive meeting. And then working on also a project proposal for that post meeting with NYU.
Hi everyone. I don't have any major comms updates besides for the fact that CBS reached out to us earlier this week. They wanted to hear our thoughts on the compact that was sent out. We did not necessarily engage, like have a conversation about it with them. They wanted to have an interview with some of us. But in the end, we decided that we wanted to meet with everyone first and gather people's thoughts and sentiments before we put out any kind of perspective or thoughts on the compact. As you were talking about before, we're thinking of ways that we can kind of like respond to it, whether that's through a statement or a resolution or something. And like Aiden was saying earlier, if any of you guys do get like communication or like a request for a statement, you're welcome to respond like on behalf of yourself. But if you're trying to respond on behalf of the UA, you need to bring that to the body so we can vote on it and make sure that everyone is in agreement. Yeah, is there anything?
Are there topics for new business?
Yes, I have
And
two.
are there motions to consider document?
Move to consider these two.
Second.
For the first one.
What do you want?
Yeah, move to consider the bylaw change.
Second.
All those in favor of considering this document? Any opposed? No, consider this document. And we'll give you 3 minutes to present, which can be extended, and then we'll have questions.
These are just the wording change, so AMs will have to come, are not required to come to UA steering. That's it. And per the bylaws, to propose a bylaw amendment, it has to be like a 2-week process. We show it to you this week and we'll vote on it next GBM. I don't think this one's that controversial.
Is that it for your presentation? And we can do 5 minutes for question and answer.
Rafa.
Yeah, so just to clarify, your reason behind this was that there weren't enough.
2 reasons. First is that I think there's a concern from the UA student representatives, like the organizations, that their voice is not as prevalent in relation to the UA voices in UA student. The second point is just that we're in room 360 and during the inclusion training that room was full, and so we don't have enough space to host all the representatives.
I think you're still encouraged to come to steering though.
Yeah, and the third reason is also we did up the AM attendance requirement for GBM, so I guess it's a bit fair to also reduce the steering requirement. But heavily encourage you to still come to steering, especially if you want to learn more about what the UA does. Okay. Move to close.
Second.
Those in favor? Any opposed? No, cool, guys.
Okay. I move to consider the next document.
Second. All those in favor?
Okay.
Then any opposed? That motion passes. And you'll have 3 minutes to present. Which can be accepted.
Okay. I know it's 10 p.m., but this will be a pretty interesting topic of discussion, I think. So hang in there.
Can everyone make sure you guys pay attention to this and make sure you are gathering questions and feedback and concerns?
Okay. To preface, I think it is important when we do things in the UA to think about why we're doing it, how we can make things better. And so our large motivation for these proposed changes and a theme throughout this entire 10-page document is how can we make the UA better? How can we make PSG better? And how can we make life better for students? So whoever wants to take it away, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna start by talking about the previous years. The way this worked was the treasurer had a thing called budget committee with 2 members from the body who are internally elected that help the treasurer with their role. And that's whether the annual budget allocation, so talking to all the branches that we fund, hosting funding steering assemblies, which are meetings for all funding groups to talk about funding at Penn. And we had contingency requests in the past. We had a $10,000 fund that's not existing anymore, but that was part of the role of budget committee.
Yeah.
And now I can talk more about what we envision here. So we envision a committee called the Innovation, Governance, Oversight, and Budget Committee, really just rebranding budget committee and adding some responsibilities we feel necessary to really push for more strategic innovation, more institutional improvement, more transparency in the UA. We want this to really be an agency that collaborates within the UA and with other branches to make Penn and Penn student government better. We don't want this to be something combative. We don't want this to be any sort of crackdown. So I just want to, we just want to make that super clear from the beginning. This is really intended to be like, hey, these are the problems we have. How can we solve these together? Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Quickly on structure. Treasurer is a city member. They kind of direct and lead the IGOB committee. Then there's an IGOB chair. We'll discuss later how that's appointed or elected. And then 4 internally elected members, similar to how we elected budget committee, an internal election that we'll have. And then one NEC observer who's non-voting. And then
We're getting rid of that.
Yeah, we're getting rid of this. Ignore this one. Okay. And then this is a visual chart of what it looks like. UA treasurer kind of directs and oversees all of it. The chair kind of does more of the procedural like roles of it. And then there's two branches of responsibility. First is innovation and governance. Think of this with the core tenet of like, how can we do X better? And then the other one is budget and monetary oversight. This is all the like budgeting, all the more traditional budget committee roles that currently happen. And then they share a joint mission on like oversight. And then the discussion that we wanted to have with you all, especially, is how do you choose who the chair is? There are two ways that we thought of. First was either exec appoints the chair, similar to how exec appoints like a cabinet or like committee directors, or should it be like an internal election where the body can internally elect the chair?
Clarify for like committee director positions, people apply, they get interviewed, and it's all just like the exec picks people.
Yeah. And then
Do you need more time to present?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think can you do Q&A and then come back to presenting?
Sure, yeah.
We can discuss them.
Oh, yeah.
so-
I guess any questions so far on this? Yeah, Bobby.
In terms of like the new structure, how would you distinguish the role of the treasurer currently in budget with like being the leader of a budget committee versus the new IGOB chair?
So with those two subcommittees, the treasurer would sort of lead the budget and monetary oversight portion, while the treasurer would lead the non-monetary oversight portion, and then however, the treasurer would still lead the sort of like, this is the direction we want to go.
Like set the
because-
vision and the
Yeah,
goals and like think of it.
And then the chair is doing more of the day-to-day.
So their roles are like very similar, but in like different realms of
Yeah.
IGOB.
Yeah.
Those roles are distinctly defined here too, so there's no confusion in the future.
Any other questions? Any other questions regarding like the difference or like the idea between like appointing versus electing the chair?
Yeah, we were divided about this, so we had input.
Does that have to be a question? No questions.
Alright.
Okay, I do not think that the chair should be appointed by exec, mainly given that so much of exec as it stands right now has a lot of stake in how this is even being proposed, so I think it should be elected by the council.
I don't think the chair will like oversee the member development method. So I think to give them more authority, that to give them more legitimacy, they should be voted.
Yes.
Just to be clear, are people that sit on this committee still sitting on other?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like.
It's like budget committee.
Yeah.
That's a select committee.
Bobby.
Wait, I agree with Naya, just because if the role of IGOB chair and treasurer is very similar, but in two different realms of what the committee is about, then like following what we currently do in the UA where we elect the treasurer internally, it makes sense to elect both internally if they're doing their job.
To kind of respond to that, but then like, does that mean? Like with budget committee, we should elect people at the beginning of the year before the new round of representatives are here. Would we wait to start this committee until like all the new city reps are here like around now? Or would it be elected at the beginning of the year like budget and then it wouldn't have freshmen on
That's something to think about, yeah.
I'll just, we talked about reserving a spot for a new student, and it's a potential, but we do have to have the elections at this time where the new members would be elected.
in future years, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, Julia.
So I know you said the treasurer still is like the head, sets the vision, all of that stuff. I worry if we elect the chair, that it'll be seen, if we elect the chair, I'm assuming with elections of the roles of speaker, treasurer, and secretary, because that's probably what we won't do that.
it. More so in the beginning of the academic year, so not the first GBM type.
Okay, I'm just worried that there won't be, and I get Naya's concern about like the current exec having a stake, but just in the future, like having, like we do appoint cabinet, and I do think like the chair is like under the treasurer, so I still think it would be maybe beneficial to have it exec appointed. It's just like almost like a, not a cabinet member, but sort of like on the same.
I guess to your point, you can think of like the first GBM can include, like the first GBM at the end of the academic year can include.
Yeah, and then
So it would
do we have a
include-
discussion period? Or can we move to discuss?
to discuss,
Like to answer all these questions?
Or
are we out of time?
there's a minute left.
Okay.
For questions.
Wait, so,
Oh,
well, I was gonna respond to the questions about the election, but we can take another question and then respond to it as a whole.
wait, go ahead.
Oh, wait, I was of the opinion that we should appoint the chair. The logic is that the IGOB governance and oversight needs to work both ways on the body and on PSG and also on exec. Currently, there's 4 internally elected members who are not of exec's choice, and they work as the majority in IGOB and also as a check back onto exec. But I think there also needs to be a reciprocal check back on IGOB and on the body, which comes in the form of the treasurer and the chair. Also, I also think it's similar logic to how we appoint committee directors, that you give exec some purview to determine who can do the largely decision making and the leading of the teams in the UA, which comes in the form of committee directors.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say that I think that that reciprocal check back onto IGOB doesn't need to happen. And especially because treasurer is already on exec, having exec appoint this, I would disagree with, because it feels like sort of a conflict of interest. It's like, who's leading this with me? I get a say in choosing that.
Yeah, that was my second worry as well. It's you can think of it as usually the leaders of something can steer the body the way they want. Not always, but it's a reflection, I believe. So I think a body wide election can reflect that.
There's a.
Yeah,
I agree with themselves. I think there's still gonna be a check, even if we vote on this member internally within the UA. I think if we do establish this committee, it's gonna have a large impact on what we do as the UA for the next few sessions, or for the future of the UA in general, with a lot of oversight with budget and our day-to-day impact with the student population. So I think it should be elected as a UA, someone that's representative of the UA. And I really don't think there's a worry with checking back with exec. I think no matter who in this session of the UA gets elected, they'll have that responsibility to check back to the.
Bobby, do you have a question?
We're definitely over.
Yeah.
Motion to extend for 5 minutes.
But can we motion to just open discussion?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, motion, I'm just, let's do 10 minutes. We can always close it.
This is our first discussion.
What do you say?
First, go through how discussion works.
Yeah, so this is a point of order. So we present, the bylaws require there to be a presentation of a document before our GBM where we vote on it. So this is the current presentation. There's the period to present, there's questions, and then we can open the discussion. We're not gonna have a debate today because we're not voting on this today, but so we've had the question and answer period, which we can extend. We can also open a 10-minute discussion that's more brief. And we had a motion to do that, so we'll continue. All those in favor of opening a 10-minute discussion?
Second.
Any opposed? That one completely passes for 10 minutes.
Yeah, then really quickly, if you want to pull it up on your own. It also has duties and responsibilities of each type of it, and then some more rhetoric, and then some bylaw amendments on it as well. But yeah, any points of discussion? I guess I can also talk more about why I think it should be appointed, unless someone else has more comments. Yeah, Bobby.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you why you think that having the chair appointed is a check that exec needs right now.
Yeah, wait, I think.
Wait, you said it's a check for exec, right?
Wait, so
Chair's appointed by-
it's a check on the body, while elections are a check on exec. Yeah. Wait, I think the structure of this is supposed to be very everyone's getting checked, everyone's under the purview of IGOB. If it sways too much in one direction, then the check becomes imbalanced. Right now, if it were to be appointed, there's already 4 members who are elected versus the 2 who are appointed, which already sways it more in the favor of an electorate. And I think the reason we have appointed positions on the UA is because we give exec some purview to decide who exec thinks is best to lead those individual areas. The same way we appoint all the committee directors, or we'll appoint different select committee directors. And so I think this works in a very similar way. And I think the way in which we'd screen the individual and the exec would determine who's most in line to do the procedural guidance of this would make the most sense. I also do think that like there exists a relative culture in the UA for some sort of pushback within committees, in the sense that within CAB, for example, like cabinet always tends to disagree with exec. Within exec, we also tend to disagree with each other. I think in IGOB as well, there'll be a large amount of disagreement. So I don't think it is too strict of a power dynamic where appointing the treasurer and chair would necessarily influence the entirety of the rest of the committee. But that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, cool.
I just feel like the duty is of the at GOB. So if like you're gonna assign someone, it's kind of complicated like interest with this because it has the oversight function of it, it has like the function of like evaluating your UA procedures and those things that are here. Like if the exec has someone like appointed there, say like backlash. Talking about 50 years.
Yeah.
Backlash like, oh, don't talk about that to upper or something or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think that's what the concern is levied by the fact that there's 4 appointed or exec members on there.
But like before the non-appointed, like they are kind of under the appointment.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Which creates like power imbalance. Like they are voted. You put someone charge them who's not voted. Like how would that work? How would that
It's kind of like 6 people, even though they each have a vote, but the 2 who are leading both committees are both appointed by exec or exec itself. So
Yeah, well, I guess this is just personally, I don't think that the power dynamic necessarily translates to a decrease in the work output, given that like within cabinet, like there's always pushback between committee directors and exec, even though there's like the difference of power dynamic. I just think like if you're opt into the UA, you tend to be very like willing to like challenge and debate and discuss, and that kind of translates into IGOB. Yeah, probably.
Have you considered doing like exec appointing, but no treasurer involved? Just the 4 other members of exec involved?
But
That's really strange.
that defeats the
navigating
point of like
here.
budget
But
committee.
I feel like no matter how you swing it, like if you're appointing it from exec, if the treasurer is involved in the decision, there's like an automatic conflict of interest.
I agree with that.
Cause they wanna work with who they wanna work with, I think that's just how it is.
But then you have the 4 other members on exec.
But maybe there's a middle ground, like if, I just thought of this, like. Between these 2 perspectives, if exec appoints someone, but the body has to confirm them, something like that, just tossing it out.
Yeah, yeah, Amira.
I was just curious, like, what's the recall history like for you, and like, has that happened before? Is that something that happens often though?
No,
The what history?
But like
Remember-
recall history where it's like
Oh.
2/3 of the UA.
not in recent memory, it's just there in case there is a situation where that would exist.
Taya?
I think I would think of it, you are, like treasurer is obviously on exec, and exec members all act as liaisons for the committee directors. And so if we see this as like a bit of a committee director, then like you would be overseeing them as another liaison. And it makes sense for them to be appointed the rest of the committee directors, even though it's not exactly like the same as the other committees.
Yeah. Wait, what are your thoughts on general thoughts on what Yadu said about exec appoints and then confirmed by vote by the UA body?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me because when would someone ever be not confirmed? You know, like every time we elect a speaker or a treasurer, it is like both of the times I've been on the UA, we've elected the person that the president and vice president think should be elected. And that's just kind of how it goes. And like, I can agree with those decisions, not being the president or the vice president, but that's just the way it goes when someone exec sees someone favorably.
Andrew.
Wait, I'm just fundamentally confused on what the BMO does that the budget committee doesn't already do, and the IGNO does that the president, vice president, speaker, secretary combined don't already do.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
BMO is budget committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then I'm just like I'm reading a lot of these things, like making a report on how the UA can be better. Like the secretary already writes like a session in the final report, and then also just deciding how the UA overall can be better. I feel like all these like different viewpoints are already expressed, like for example to the speaker, or like identifying bylaws that could be revised. Like the speaker already does a large part of that. Like why does those things need to happen?
Poetic. Yeah, I can touch on like the innovation and governance part. I think the biggest thing is like having a specific committee really being very forward thinking and really evaluating and looking at what we can do better. I think, especially for a lot of roles, like there is your day-to-day responsibilities and burden, right? And it's hard to, necessarily be like, hey, I'm in charge, like, for the speaker, and maybe Aiden can speak to this, in terms of the innovation and, the governance part. So I'll let him speak if he has anything, then I can continue.
I mean, I think it's kind of like calms how there's just so much work to be done and there's always more people needed, and I think having people more focused on this specifically rather than, doing committees and like all the additional responsibilities, I think it's just like an additional help for the roles that we have.
Yeah, and I think this really functions as, sort of our own think tank, right? Like we can benchmark ourselves, we can come up with new ideas, and then, raise that, like, not, the work of the other committees, but there's a gap here in terms of like structural changes or like ideas or new, innovation, and that's what this really aims to be there for.
Also want to add a few points. So one, I feel like while you were saying like, oh, like what do other like exec members can work on and like do some of this stuff, as someone who's sitting on exec this year, it's a lot of more work than like you think it is. I know you were on CAB last year as well. There's a lot of like extra hours of commitments that you have. So I feel like having this committee that can like help with these tasks and give you recommendations can be helpful. That's one. Two, I'm really big on the idea of oversight and not in like a, just cracking down on other branches, but more so like advising them. And simply because we're getting $3 million, we're giving them to all the branches. And quite frankly, I don't know how much like people like how much we know like how that money is being spent. Is it being spent well? Is it not? There's a lot of like questions on like how can we work with other branches to make sure that like the money we're giving them is being spent in the right places, and that it's also outlined as the role for the Treasury and Budget Committee, and that oversight not just only on like finances, but also on like how the other branches are operating and whether they're doing things wrong, because it's been happening. This happened before that other branches have done mistakes that like maybe they're not held accountable for. But I believe that as the funding branch, we should have this ability to look over that.
I also think it's important that this role is separate from exec because of the sort of like oversight governance portion of it. I think there's things that we can say like, oh look, like these parts of the bylaws don't make any sense anymore 10 years ago, or like we think exec should be doing this, and I think that separation is good.
I don't think this is necessarily like analogous to like our current like standing project committees because of the amount of external stakeholders that exist in this. Like the idea of like all this oversight on other branches. So therefore I feel like it should be an elected position because I feel like it needs to be someone that everyone in the body trusts. So like I think no, not appointed, and no, not appointed and checked by the body. I don't want exec to be the ones that are influencing everyone's decisions on who this person is because of the amount of again external stakeholders that's in here. Then I had another question, but I forgot about it.
I feel like the simple response is we appoint comms, and comms is the most externally facing to like the entire world.
But comms doesn't do any oversight over bodies. And that's my other question is how, so if there's like all this idea of like oversight and governance on these other branches, how do you plan to be collaborative with them, and how is this gonna like, how are you guys going to bring this idea to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, so last time Yadu and I were here together, it didn't end so well. So now the collaboration is very hand-holding, and how can we help you get better together rather than you need to do XYZ. We went through this with Katie Bonner as well, and she was also of the same opinion that there was a lot of redundancy, a lot of things that can be fixed in a collaborative manner. And I also do think like the other branches would be open to solutions that we can help them with, because it also like there also are ways that everyone can work on. So obviously we'll do it in like a respectful, polite, collaborative manner. I doubt it's going to be like a cracking down. And
I just want to give like a little bit of background on like, I think for new members on like the sort of behind the scenes of like how the speaker, the secretary, and the treasurer are elected, and sort of like the dynamics that kind of go into that, and then also like how we pick committee directors. So like I just want, I think it's important for everyone to understand, like once the president and vice president are elected, we have like this special meeting, and like while yes, whoever the president and the vice president think, you know, they maybe people like trust their sway, but like everyone does get a vote in confirming them. However, like once the exec is formed and we pick committee directors, like there's always going to be a conflict of interest of like, we're all friends here, we're all friends of the body. Maybe different members of exec feel like a certain way about a certain person, but the point is like when we appoint those CDs, there are checks on like the other members of exec do check people. There's people that I advocated for that people were like, no, I like whatever. And there's people that other people advocated for that I was like, no, I think it should be this person. So I think, and I also think that there is that the purview of exec, as Musa put it, like we not like to gas exec, but I do think that there is like some, you know, things that we, you know, or that people who have been on the body for a long time maybe and like have an idea on maybe that is not wording this badly. But I think maybe appointed and then confirmed would be.
But I also want to say, like, if the logic is that during closed elections, like internal elections, like the president and VP have always gotten their choices for the other exec positions, the same issue still applies within like the internal election for the chair. So I don't know how that problem goes away.
I was just saying that to the confirmation process, like a highly doubt, we as a body would vote to overturn something that an exec would appoint. I also think there's a very distinct difference here between an exec liaison and a committee director versus exec co-leading this with someone. Because an exec liaison has a very different role than the UA treasurer in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think like, of course, the other committee directors are chosen by the exec, which is great. But with this being, from my perspective, at least more of an oversight committee, you want to oversee or like see how you can improve a lot of the different functionalities of UA, whether it be the exec, whether it be cabinet, whether it be the committees, or our entire functionality as in general. And with this committee being like both tasked with promoting transparency, institutional improvement, and strategic innovation across the UA, you want it to be a committee that has no other ties with exec, where everyone can depend on this person to have an unbiased, no other preceding viewpoint that might like lead them to make decisions as the head of this oversight committee that again has so much of an influence over what the UA does in general.
Any extra ones?
Also to piggyback on what he's saying, this is operating like an oversight committee. If you look at the federal government, the US House Oversight Committee is elected by the full House of Representatives because it's oversighting the House of Representatives. Whereas committees in the House of Representatives are selected by the Speaker, which is not voted by the House. So if we're wanting to operate the same way, we should look at how the US government selects their oversight committee, which is surprising that they've done something that makes sense. The House of Representatives should be elected the people and not just led up to the people. Because I agree with Pierce, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I agree with Pierce that whoever executive appointed, we all know that we're just gonna.
Yeah, Bobby.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, the more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense for an oversight committee to be appointed by the leadership no matter what, because the leadership are the people that the oversight committee would be more likely to be checking. Like, they're not gonna check on a committee member and be like, you're not doing your work. Like, it's gonna be on like the fundamental structure of the UA, which is what leadership is in charge of. So I think exec needs to be checked more than the body needs to be checked.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion, why don't we have like an exec liaison with executive assistant like in committee and just let it go. Like, for example, I think that the most will be like the secretary here, would be like just attending, observe as observer the meetings. If they need help, they can get that help from there. The committee, all of that, they don't have like voting rights, they don't have anything, just like they are there to be there. Like maybe it's like it's still the certain thing, but everything else is voted on because it's like an oversight again.
The treasurer is the head of the budget, and the treasurer should be part of this because they like Mo will do the most amazing job at running that, and that's his job as the treasurer. And that's why we elected him, because we thought he would do a great job at that. So I think he should be part of it. But we do have an NEC observer, which I think is important because as the judiciary bank, they're PSG, like they should be doing a lot of the, like making sure that what this committee is doing is not just like Doge and like abolishing the skew.
I also think a fundamental thing is like we're transitioning the budget committee into like this new committee and the treasurer led it and like it's kind of like, it's just the treasurer has to sit at that committee, cause just previous roles.
Yeah, Ben.
Another thing just to think about is the treasurer has a lot of knowledge and is like aware of a lot of happenings that the IGOB board would be like considering. So I would see this less as like the exec's window into this committee and more so like the committee's window into exec cabinet. So I think like it's helpful as like information aid.
Yeah. I do think the treasurer should have a role within committee. But this is the first time I'm seeing this document, so I haven't read it in depth, but is the like responsibility or the role of the chair gonna be like, are they gonna have more power than the treasurer in this capacity?
So the way it works is like, and the treasurer is gonna be like leading this committee and setting visions and the goals.
Okay.
And then it's divided into two subcommittees. Treasurer will focus on the budget side of it. And then the chair of IGO will focus on the innovation and governance.
Okay.
But like, there's gonna be overlap and it's more outlined in the document as well. It's not like, you're strictly stuck to one thing or the other.
Yeah.
I just had a thought. So if the premise that we're going by is that the person giving oversight should be someone who is objective, external, someone who doesn't have too much ties with exec, then why does this person, one, have to be from the UA? And two, if he is from the UA, why does I was thinking that there might be some merit in him being
Why are you
appointed by
saying
exec.
him?
Has it the equity inclusion? Wait, continue. Continue. Keep going.
So because it's understandable that if exec appoints the chair, because I mean the treasurer is already overseeing this committee and he's already making the so-called final decision because it's up there, right?
Yeah.
It might have some merit in having the chair also appointed because then this person is the person that exec / the treasurer believes can do the best job with him or her in this scenario.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we're gonna go like external, go all the way external, like out of the UA, if we're gonna do it internally, then
Yeah,
someone.
I think to the first point, like there's not enough buy-in. Like, I mean, like half of us aren't even here, so like I can't imagine what a non-UA person would want to do. So I was like, I think members in the UA just have UA specific knowledge that can help them do the role better. And the second point,
Wait, I just wanna go over something that like the treasurer does not have the final say. This is like every member on this committee, same with the budget committee currently, every member has one vote. And the things that committee puts out should be voted on by the entire committee.
And also, I think it should be separate from exec, because if Julia wanted to run to be IGO chair and we as a body thought that Julia would be the most qualified for the job, like I don't think it should be limited. Like, I know you don't, I was just.
No, I
using
was
this
just saying,
example.
I would disagree, but I'd say I should IGO chair.
Wait, I know,
Exactly.
but I'm saying like it. We are electing someone, right, but I don't think it should be barred. I don't think it should be, this person can't be on exec, I just think we should be able to elect them as a body versus the point.
yeah, Ben.
I kind of disagree, and I think I probably agree with Julia here. It's like, I think it would just be really problematic to have the person in charge of keeping like the president accountable be like the vice president. I just think it would be
Okay,
like.
yeah.
Yeah,
I see your
like
point.
I would be auditing myself, which I think is a conflict of interest.
Even though like you could argue that like sort of like the democratic choice of the assembly will address that problem, if it's just gonna be like like it just seems like antithetical to like.
Okay, I see what you
process
mean.
to audit yourself as.
Yeah, okay.
About Fabio?
Wait, I just read that, so like the 4 members that are elected can be on either committee. Or like they can be on one or both. Wouldn't it be more efficient to just have budget committee and IGO, like just have them
Yeah,
separate?
so this was the initial idea, but I think the logic is just like logistically it's impossible to have efficient work done if they're meeting at 2 separate times or like they're just not always together because a lot of the things overlap. But like the specific goals could most likely be delineated.
What specifically about budget and IGO is like very overlap?
Wait, like
The oversight.
the oversight part.
Oversight.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note to those that are leaving early, you will receive half credit attendance for our bylaws. You can't leave before the
Wait,
meeting.
guys, wait, we can also table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
But
I need a motion to adjourn. then we can finish the debate when we actually debate.
Yeah.
All those, is there a second for that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Yeah, well, that motion really passes, meeting adjourned.
I call for division of the assembly.
Yeah.
So Andrew can call for adjournment.
I forgot you did this. So, what, actually, that motion was probably because you're an associate.
Yeah, associate members can make motions.
Not to end, not to adjourn, they can make motions to extend debate, but that's basically what I'm saying. So, there's an elected member, you can make a motion to adjourn, second. And then all those elected members in favor. And any opposed? That motion really
Okay,
passes.
Pierce calls for division of the assembly.
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Or, yeah. I'm just like, if we debate this another week, like this is what happened last year, like, we always push things and
This
indefinite.
isn't pushing it, I mean, we're just adjourning the meeting, but the presentation has happened and we can still go about. Voting
Yeah, but
on
what's
it.
another 10 minutes doing?
We're gonna have to have a debate.
You know?
We're gonna have to have a debate on it anyways, like,
Okay.
once we put this.
Should we start roll call?
It's gonna have to be like that.
Um. Naya,
What are we voting?
so we're voting on whether or not we're going to adjourn this meeting. Pro,
Or I will do I and no.
oh my gosh,
I and.
but it says pro. Fine, I, will be, you wish to adjourn the meeting. No will be, you wish to continue this discussion.
Wait, point of view, what if I move to go hot debate? Well, we're in the. Okay, so we're already in voting. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I know everyone's a little irritated right now because of how long the meeting is, but I do also think it's important to note that we asked you guys to block off 8 PM to 11 PM. And that technically we have until 11 PM for any meeting, and that in only the case that we like go past 11 PM, can you guys like ask to join the meeting per our bylaws? Just keeping that in mind. We don't always go this long, but it is important to note that.
Okay. So I'm gonna reiterate again. Pro means you wanna end this meeting. I means you wanna end this meeting. No means you want to adjourn. Or you do not want.
We got it. We got it.
Okay. This for
We're discussing this. Okay. Naya.
Aye.
Okay. Musab.
Con.
Aiden.
No.
Mo.
No.
I vote no. Taya.
Aye.
Miriam.
No.
De Silva. Still here.
No.
Chinmay. Gone.
No.
Tanji.
Yep.
Gone. Audrey.
No.
Okay.
Just.
Aisha. Gone. Eddie, not here. Ashika, not here. Krishi, gone. Shaughnessy.
I.
Ben,
I.
always gone. Pierce.
No.
Jackson here. Bobia.
No.
Okay. Ryan.
Aye.
Yadu.
No.
Cameron.
Not here.
Pirlo, not here. Ion, not here. Stanley.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Amira.
Aye.
Samyang.
I.
Charmaine. Solon. Yeah, we. Thing,
For another page.
no. Sophie? Aye. Ryan?
Aye.
And Odette?
Aye.
And we just need a simple majority for this, correct?
Yes.
Wait, we don't need quorum.
We have one.
We didn't have quorum?
Yeah.
And what is quorum?
It's well, we have 34. 34, because there's one vacant.
So it's 35 because it's 36.
There's 36.
Right, sorry,
Yeah,
35,
35.
so it's what, 17?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 50.
We're way over, so.
So we have 15-9 passes to adjourn.
Great.
I know.
I